Good morning and welcome to the Mike Graham Show. It's 5 seconds before 7 o'clock. It's now 7 o'clock. So, just to make up for what we did yesterday, which of course was slightly tardy, you can see from both the international clock and the clock here in London that it is right bang on 7 o'clock. And I would like to say that we are ready and absolutely up and at 'em. Russell Quirk is here. Very good morning to you, Russ.
Morning. I think that's caught everybody out, Mike.
It has a bit, yeah, well, because we were a couple of minutes late yesterday.
Yeah, rush back from the kettle.
It's one of those, you know, when you come back to work on a Monday and you're kind of not quite on the
it takes you a while to get back in, right?
And we were chatting away and suddenly went, crikey, it's 1 minute past 7. And anyway, so hopefully that makes up for it. Anyway, Pooch is here. We've got a new sort of thing to unveil because we've got a poll today, which has actually been initiated by one of our listeners, right? I think it's from Colin Robertson. And the poll is this: what's the most unlikely thing to happen? All religions make peace and agree. Trump and Hillary Clinton make up. The sun stops rising. Or Keir Starmer answers a Prime Minister's question at Prime Minister's Questions, which of course is tomorrow. It didn't answer any questions yesterday. I mean, I don't know if you watched the Starmer press conference yesterday. It was painful. We've got some clips that we'll play later, but just in general, he was saying, you know, particularly when he was asked about Mandelson and why he was appointed and the vetting process and all of that, and whether he's misled Parliament.
Yeah.
And all he would say was the process was not good, but we followed the process. And you go, right. And so, you know, despite the fact that it turns out that this man was in receipt of Botox and possibly Xanax from a convicted paedophile in an illegal fashion, you thought that would be fine, so you just gave him the job anyway.
Yeah. Well,
because that was a process.
My problem with all this now, Mike, is that he is such a parody, and he's so irritating.
He is,
and he's like the kind of the ultimate sleeping pill, isn't he? If you had insomnia, you would just play a 3 or 4 minute Keir Starmer speech or a press conference, and it will send you nicely off to sleep.
Yes.
So I find it very difficult to watch him, which for me as a political commentator is quite the didisadvantage.
Yeah, well, people hate it when we play clips from Starmer. Yeah, let's play one. Because they please don't play it. So which one should we play then? Should we do...
The Mark Carney one.
Yeah, the Mark Carney one. This is really cringe. This is when...
It was great to see him back, isn't it? The man that destroyed the Bank of England.
The only man who's possibly more boring than Keir Starmer. You know. Have you seen his wife, by the way? No, that's probably another story. But carry on. Have a look at this.
Well, Mark, let me extend you a very warm welcome back here at Downing Street. It's really good to have you. And happy birthday. Thank you. For today. I think the opportunity we've got to put together our values and our principles and apply them to a very volatile world is really important this morning. Thank you for all your support on Ukraine. It's been invaluable, and the coalition of the willing, and all the work we're able to do through NATO together on the back of a very successful G7 and bilateral last year. So we're old friends, strong history and values between our country, and a really good opportunity today to tackle the really difficult issues that confront us. So you're very welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Keir, and for hosting me. And it was about a year ago today, I'd just been sworn in as Prime Minister and came here, and we agreed to work closely on a number of international issues and also to tighten our bilateral ties in intelligence sharing, in trade across a whole host of areas, and that's exactly what's been happening, and it's a good thing that has happened because the world's become even more challenging. And I do want to pick up on this point on Ukraine and really commend you here for your leadership of the Coalition of the Willing. It would not have happened without you, and it's exactly that type of leadership that the world requires now, which is to put together these coalitions that help address real issues. Now, of course, the number of issues is multiplied, so we'll have some discussions on those, and I'm very much looking forward to that.
Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah. You see, the thing is, you know...
what is this all about? What are they signalling?
Literally 2.5 minutes of complete and utter cobblers, right?
Yeah, the plankery.
They're talking about great leadership in Ukraine. They're still getting mashed by the Russians.
Yes,
you know,
4 years on.
Yeah, how is it great? What have they done exactly?
They
haven't done anything.
4 years on.
You know,
but let's not forget, Mark Carney, I'll tell you, the property industry will never forgive Mark Carney. This is the man that, in the wake of Brexit, obviously he was a massive, massive Remainer, which he had no right to be, by the way, because he's not English, not British. He's Canadian, for goodness sake.
Right.
But, you know, he was making these proclamations around Brexit. If there's a no-deal Brexit, the property market's going to crash.
Yeah.
Unemployment will skyrocket.
Yeah, you got that wrong.
He got it all wrong. But as the Bank of England governor, surely you know better than to put your ideology and your kind of ego first to the detriment of sentiment in the financial markets and the property market.
That piece of footage shows you what has gone wrong with politics in the world, because the Western world does not want people like them in charge, but because half the people in each country have stopped voting, that's what you end up with. You end up with these kind of automaton managers who literally are ideologues at the same time, and they believe in this kind of basket of ideas and policies, and they all have to agree on them. A coalition of the willing.
Well, they're managers, not leaders. The whole kind of WEF trickle down thing. But there'll be a lot of people watching this going, "Oh, look at the hand thing." So we were just taking the mickey out. But it's the conspiracy theorists say, okay, what is that? What are they signalling? There's the whole this thing, isn't there? Then there's this thing. Then there's this.
No, all it is that they've been told by people that are supposed to.
The media trainers.
Yeah, media trainers saying that the worst thing you can do is look gormless, right? So if you do something with your hands, it will make it look as if you know.
Do you think Keir Starmer's had that a lot from media trainers?
Yes, I think so. Well, I saw there was a press conference that he did later, in which he just even now looks stupid. He's got this kind of stupid look on his face, kind of like.
But he's so wooden. He's so unanimated.
Yeah, he is.
Rather than being a little bit relaxed and a little bit kind of, let's look at the camera, let's have a few kind of proper hand gestures.
When Trump does a press conference, he's having a conversation.
Yeah, but it's authenticity, right? So like you and I now, we're talking, we're looking each other in the eye, and we're kind of moving about a bit. He's like this, and it is almost as if everything's been prescribed. But also I think he's a man that desperately knows how out of depth he is. Yes. Out of his own depth.
He is. He really is. I mean, this morning we've got a lot on Trump and Starmer. Times ago, Trump turns fire back on Starmer. Should we play a bit of that, Donald Trump? So I think we've got that as well. He's disappointed with the way the United Kingdom has failed to support America. And so he should be, in my view. Have a look.
Prime Minister of UK, United Kingdom, yesterday told me, I'm meeting with my team to make a determination. I said, you don't need to meet it with the team. You're the Prime Minister. You can make your own. Why do you have to meet with your team to find out whether or not you're going to send some minesweepers to us or to send some boats? I said, you don't have to meet with your team. It's the same thing here. I can tell you that when this is over, oil prices are going to go down very, very rapidly. So is inflation, so is everything else.
Yeah, see, Donald Trump there having a conversation with people, explaining, what's actually going on, as opposed to talking absolute nonsense.
How incredibly embarrassing. We've got another world leader telling our Prime Minister how to be a Prime Minister. Prime Minister, you don't need to go and ask 50 people, including a bank of lawyers at Labour HQ or in the Commons. Just make a decision.
Yes.
This whole thing, of course, is about the Straits of Hormuz, right, which is now being blockaded by Iran, with mines and goodness knows what else. What Keir Starmer needs to understand is that if that blockade continues, that's about 20% of the world's oil goes through that on a weekly, monthly basis. Oil prices, therefore, will spike, which means the cost of goods in the UK will go up even further. Talk about a labour cost of living crisis. You ain't seen nothing yet if that happens. Inflation will go up to 4, 5, 6%, which means interest rates will also have to, change. It's an absolute disaster. And Keir Starmer, as we've seen throughout this Iran crisis, has just said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sit on my hands and hope that everything's okay, so I don't want to upset anybody.
But there's a secret bonus in it for the government, because the Telegraph's got a story saying today Rachel Reeves is going to bank £3 billion in additional tax revenue as a result of the rising price of oil.
Yes.
Because the oil companies will have to pay more in corporation tax.
VAT.
And there's more VAT on the petrol pumps and all the rest of it. So,
and this is before she adds 5% in fuel duty, which she said in the budget she's going to do. She's been kind of criticised for that by all and sundry, media, Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats and so on, that she's going to add that 5p fuel duty back in. And she's said that despite what's going on and oil prices spiking, she's still going to add the 5p fuel duty.
And let's not forget that over 50% of the petrol price at the pump is government money anyway. Which is what Miliband got all flummoxed about on Sunday, because they put to him, well, why don't you just reduce the fuel tax?
But they add VAT to fuel duty. So it's literally a tax on a tax.
Exactly.
It's utterly outrageous.
It is ridiculous. A couple of super chats are coming in. Let's go and do a bit of that before we do anything else. What have we got, Pooch? This from Jane, who says, great to see the herons I sent on the shelf. Thank you, Jane. Yeah, that's the two herons that we've got back behind us. Carney and Starmer are both as pointless as each other, says Lee. A couple of Davos wet wipes. Absolutely right.
Nice way of putting it.
They totally are. One more. Russell has joined a Blues Brothers tribute band, says Mike.
Well, actually, I'm going to a funeral later.
All right.
No, I'm not
so
really.
now he's going to feel bad.
That got you.
See?
That got you.
Now he's going to go, oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I'm wearing purple tie and a blue jacket. You're wearing a black tie and a black jacket.
Yeah. I'm going to an event later, but so there's a bit of formality to it. Let's just leave that.
You're not wearing any sunglasses indoors anyway. Happy St Patrick's Day. All at the Mike Graham Show. It is St Patrick's Day.
It is.
Sometimes
was it
we
actually
forget
yesterday?
That. It is today.
But I guess the drinking will be today.
17th of March.
Yeah.
When I used to live in New York, it was a nightmare because the whole city would just be taken over by people getting completely... Not really. I used to see it as a kind of New Year's Eve type scenario. Because when you live in a place like that, you want to go to your local pub.
Well, it's just a shame that St George's Day, of course, which is April the 23rd, is probably going to be banned soon.
Probably.
It's too patriotic.
Yeah. Well, don't get me started. Maybe we'll change it and have an iftar instead.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
Rearrange these letters to
an
make
English
another
Ramadan
word.
on the 23rd or something.
Can we do any anagrams of iftar? I wonder if that's allowed, or is that some kind of crime against Islam?
Yeah, no, I think you'd end up with a fatwa.
A fatwa, yeah. Yeah, no, I did have one of those, but then I went on a diet. Anyway, look at this. Only a handful of Navy's mine hunt drones are in the Gulf. Now, this apparently is our sort of ace in the hole, right? According to British defence experts, right? We are a global leader in uncrewed naval technology. However, uncrewed meaning drones, effectively, right? However, unfortunately, Britain is believed to have only a handful of mine-hunting drones in the Gulf. John Healey, the Defence Secretary, told MPs yesterday that autonomous mine-hunting capabilities are pre-positioned in the region to deal with Iranian bombs being scattered across the Strait of Hormuz. However, it looks as though there's not very many of them. So once again,
failing again.
The reason we're not patrolling in the Gulf, the reason we're not sending any ships to the Straits of Hormuz is because we don't have any.
Yeah.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
So it's not as though Starmer's making some great kind of, concession to,
but the more this happens,
to the world of sense and common sense.
Yeah, but the more this happens and the more he talks about defence capabilities. Wow. I can't unsee that.
Who is that?
I can't unsee that.
It's you.
You.
Is it?
As
Christ, who
Patrick.
did that?
Charlotte.
That's incredible, isn't it?
St. Patrick.
AI is quite frightening.
I'm not sure it's that flattering, Mike.
I don't care. I mean, you know what would be really funny is if you could make me actually animated and I'd do the whole show like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, like an Edward Hughes, but a Mike Graham St. Patrick version.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Irish, I must say. But obviously, I'm not Irish. Although my mother actually, technically, I think, had Irish parentage.
Yeah, I've got ancestry.
Her dad,
Irish ancestry.
So my grandfather, I think, was Irish.
Yeah, I'll be having a Guinness or two in the West.
McAlevey was the name.
Oh, there you go.
Which sounds a bit Irish, doesn't it?
Yeah. So the more that this happens and the more Keir Starmer talks about defence capability, the more we realise how kind of wanting we are. I asked ChatGPT the following question yesterday, which I thought would be quite amusing. If we stop spending all of the money that we spend on asylum, so in other words, the food and the 46 quid a week in cash that they'll get, and particularly the hotels and the accommodation, it's 4 billion quid, by the way. How many Navy frigates would that buy every year?
Yeah.
16.
Really?
16 Navy frigates.
Which is approximately the number of Navy frigates that are currently in dry dock getting fixed.
So I'm not pitching here to be Prime Minister or anything, but this politics is really bloody easy.
Well, everything is easy.
Don't do that. Use the money here instead. Problem solved.
Exactly. I mean, that's what you're meant to do.
Yes.
As opposed to the answer to everything, which is basically tax everybody more when we've got enough money. Right? Instead of reallocating the money, which is what you'd have to do in a company, and what you'd have to do in a household.
Yeah. Well, in a company, though, of course, as a shareholder or director, you'd be accountable because it's your money and you get paid according to the profit you make. The trouble is, in the public sector, no one's accountable, no one's scrutinised, no one cares.
No.
It's pretend money, apparently. But of course, it's not. It's the taxpayers' money.
Get off. Why is Edward Hughes reading the news? Too early,
Because I mentioned his name. It's like an Alexa thing.
Edward.
I forgot to do it.
I think Edward's a bit, it sounds a bit hungover. Has he been out on the Terps? Maybe he celebrates St Patrick's Day a day early.
Yeah. But it's like in the papers there, the spectre of welfare changes is popping up again, where Labour is saying, oh no, this time the backbenchers will actually allow us to reduce the welfare bill.
Yeah.
You know, remember last year, I think.
They can't reduce it.
No, they can't because the backbenchers don't want us to do anything in the way of reducing the benefit bill, the welfare bill. But it's popping up again. And I suspect that we're in for another fun ride whereby the government try to do something to be seen to be checking welfare and benefit costs. And the majority of Labour MPs are going to say, no, you've got to keep spending that £200 billion a year on people that don't want to work.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? Because as we get to fewer and fewer people creating wealth and actually being taxed, they get taxed more, and we have to give more and more of it away, not least to people who don't want to do any work, but also to people coming here from other countries who don't want to do any work.
Yeah, well, Thatcher had a great way of articulating that, didn't she? What was the saying? It was, the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
It's true, absolutely right. And if you're, of course, in Parliament, you don't run out of anybody's money. We'll come back to that in a minute because there's a couple of good stories about Angela Rayner and Peter Mandelson knocking about how much money they've been getting on the side. We should talk, though, about this meningitis story, which is on the front pages as well. Some amazing pictures. A queue for antibiotics at the University of Kent in Canterbury yesterday after meningitis killed a student. I'm surprised they're giving antibiotics out, because normally they say, oh, sorry, you can't have those because you might become immune to them. But 2 people have died already, 11 others in hospital. They seem to say, front page of the Sun says that it all happened in a nightclub, and people were sharing vapes, sharing bottles of beer. I mean, it's worrying for parents.
So Kent seems to be the epicentre of this, ground zero, doesn't it? Canterbury in particular. And of course, the health authority's under fire because apparently it was known, I think on Thursday or Friday last week, that this was a problem.
Yes.
And the health authorities decided to, it's a bit like the EU, you know, when they sit back and say, yeah, we'll deal with the Iran thing on Monday because we don't work Saturdays and Sundays. So they waited over the weekend, didn't provide any caution or any alerts to the public until yesterday. Even the nightclub owner, where they think this kind of kicked off, said, if I'd known on Friday, I wouldn't have opened the nightclub on Saturday. So health authorities left wanting, it seems here.
Yes, exactly right.
Again.
Yeah, health officials said they were alerted to cases on Saturday and issued a public warning on Sunday, raising questions about why alerts were delayed, as you say, because it's got an incubation period of 3 to 5 days, apparently. And Paul Hunter is a professor of medicine at University of East Anglia. He's saying normally you would have expected action to have been taken sooner. Because the problem with this sort of there's viral meningitis, bacterial meningitis. I think this is bacterial.
So one's more dangerous than the other.
Yeah, it happens really quickly. I mean, I was saying this yesterday. I was telling the story of when I was a lot younger. My sister had a friend at university who just got meningitis on a holiday in Turkey or something and literally died within 2 days. It's horrible.
It's and really very contagious nasty. Through saliva, through vapes, and, as you say,
and
drink
it's particularly,
sharing and so on.
For some reason, it's particularly likely to attack kind of, 18 to 24-year-old kids.
What concerns me, I think twofold here, is that we're going to have, yet again, a public sector that we probably can't rely on and trust properly to handle this, as ever. But then also at the same time, our politicians will probably overreact. I'm already seeing in the papers this morning the word lockdown. I mean, seriously, a lockdown because of meningitis. Now, I'm not saying it's not serious. Clearly, with 2 deaths, it is. There is no doubt about that. But this could have been and should be handled much, much better. But it also needs to be done with reality rather than kind of hyperbole, doesn't it?
Well, you would think as well, after what happened in the last lockdown, that they would realise that lockdowns don't actually work. Because all that you do is you make something dormant. And so the incubation period isn't 3 to 5 days, it's 3 to 5 months.
Well, with COVID, look, I know it's kind of, we're rehearsing old ground here, but we actually, you remember Boris Johnson was criticised for saying let it rip. Well, that which actually was the scientific advice at the time, because that type of virus eventually starts to kind of dilute its way out. Now, this is different, of course, meningitis. I mean, the spread of that isn't going to dissipate in terms of the virality, the toxicity of the virus itself. So, look, we need to be very careful of this, but also to be sensible and not overreact, which I think our politicians probably will do. But the health authorities have got a lot to answer for. They should have issued a warning and done something about this, particularly around that nightclub and Kent University, probably on Thursday or Friday last week.
Yes, I mean, that's what should have happened. But basically, it says that anyone who visited Club Chemistry on March the 5th, 6th or 7th should come forward for preventative antibiotic treatment. But you're now talking, over a week later.
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's 5 days incubation, it's too late.
Literally the horse has bolted, isn't it? But, can we talk about your favourite car park?
Yeah, NCP, definitely.
It's gone bust.
I know, how's that happened?
Well, it's like decades old.
One is decades old,
One of the oldest brands.
I used to park in an NCP car park every single day when I worked over at London Bridge, and it was exactly where my back window got smashed in.
I remember it.
Right? And they didn't exactly spend a lot of money. They brought in a second security guy to just walk around in the evenings because so many people were getting their cars broken into. But when I first started parking there, they had one guy, a French guy, who was a really good guy actually, who was there from sort of 8 in the morning till about 4 in the afternoon. But otherwise, it was unmanned.
Yeah.
So they weren't spending money on staff.
Yeah, and surprise, surprise, cars were getting broken into and damaged.
And I was paying, and it was always full, by the way, because people were parking there to go to the hospital. It was near Guy's Hospital, and there was no other place to park. 40 quid a day I was paying, so 800 quid a month I was giving.
That's the thing. So I can sit here slagging off the government in terms of their economic handling and the way that they've added national insurance costs and minimum wage costs and business rates costs to the overheads of many businesses across Britain, and we can criticise that justifiably all day long. But hang on, NCP, right? They own a load of freeholds that they've owned for decades and decades and decades. Secondly, they charge a fortune. Particularly in London, as you say, they're like 15 quid an hour, 40 quid for half a day or whatever. But they don't really have any staff. So I don't understand how they've gone bust.
No. Is it not the case that they've changed hands quite a lot over recent years, that there's been quite a lot of companies that have come in and bought them and then maybe restructured the debt or something like that?
Yeah.
But even so, you'd still imagine that it's a very profitable business, isn't it?
Well, and I'm sure it used to be. I think the guy that founded it, when he sold it for hundreds of millions of pounds.
I mean, interestingly, the place that was in London Bridge, because I was told this by the bloke who looked after it, the actual property there was owned by the NHS, and the NHS are selling it, so it was going to cease to become a car park because somebody wants to build out a block of flats there.
Yeah.
You know.
So notwithstanding the fact that it seems a bit of an anomaly, doesn't it, NCP going bust, but here's a little roster of the stuff that has gone bust under the Labour government, of course, since July 2024. TGI Fridays, remember them?
I do.
Thought they would have gone bust. They've gone.
Yeah.
Home Base.
I think there's a few of them left, but they've lost loads.
Yeah, they went into administration. Harland and Wolff, of course.
Yeah.
Who, apart from building the Titanic, were a pretty decent firm.
Yeah.
Oops, apart from that.
Maybe we can build a couple of minesweepers.
Yes.
You know, call me old-fashioned, since we're at war. Since we are, don't forget, at a war footing.
Yeah, we are. Well, we kind of need them now, don't we? It's a Home Base. I mean, they were huge. But get this, in 2025, insolvencies were 30 to 50% above the long-term average. So last year, 23,000 business insolvencies in the UK versus a run rate of 16,000. So anyone tells me, anyone on the left, that Labour are handling the economy perfectly, everything's great. The reality is, the data says, particularly if you're a business owner or someone that works for a small business or a medium-sized business, they are going bust at a much higher rate than they normally do.
And many businesses are just shutting up shop and saying, we just can't be bothered.
But Rachel Reeves, your mate, Rachel III, she said that the answer to growth, apparently, is to be more closely aligned with the EU.
Yeah.
Now, there she is. But the thing is, right?
Oh yeah, Jacob Rees-Mogg was in on Friday.
Yeah.
And he was sitting there, and at one point during the conversation, he was here for about 20 minutes or so. He said, "Pardon me for asking, why do you have a picture of Richard III?" And I said, "Well, because it's our
parody of Rachel Reeves."
Of Rachel Reeves, the Chancellor." He said, "Oh, thank goodness for that." He said, "I thought you were one of those people who likes Richard III," and I thought he was going to launch into some kind of like historical.
He's probably written a book on Richard III.
He probably has.
Hasn't he?
No, but there's probably some movement of people who really like Richard III. They're not to be trusted.
Yeah.
You know,
like an Oliver Cromwell thing, or Charles I.
Like you're backing the wrong side.
Yeah.
You know.
But this Rachel Reeves edict now in the newspapers this morning is that she thinks the answer to our growth and our riches. Bear in mind, we've seen no growth in the last 18 months at all. The latest GDP numbers, so the measure of the economy's growth, is flat, basically. It's zero. But the notion that we should become more closely aligned with the EU, that's our saviour, when actually, even though our GDP, our growth is pretty insipid, France and Germany are even worse.
Yes.
I mean, they're pretty much in recession. So I was reading this morning on the way in thinking, so we're in trouble economically because of this government's approach to the economy and how they're taxing businesses and discouraging people to invest and employ people. How on earth can it be logical that the answer is to align with countries that are worse than us?
Yeah,
how does that make any sense?
But I watched this sort of unfolding in a way yesterday, because you see the way that Europe is responding to Donald Trump, and it's almost like a collective kind of myopia where they think, well, we don't want to align ourselves with Trump.
Because it's Trump.
Because it's Trump.
Yeah.
And therefore we have to align ourselves with the other countries in Europe.
Yeah.
And so they've all been sort of clubbing together. So Germany, France,
but it's an ideological thing, isn't it? It's a personal thing.
And they're saying we don't think, and I think this is actually quite dangerous. They're saying this is not a NATO war, so we're not going to get involved.
But
and Trump's quite right to say, hang on a minute, we've been basically bankrolling NATO since the Second World War.
Yeah.
We've been helping you guys out for quite a long time.
Yeah, we've contributed much less than him.
Far more money than you lot have. And now you're saying, actually, do you know what? Now when you're asking us for help, we're not going to help you.
Yeah, but everyone seems to have forgotten the reason.
Putin was saying he thinks this will be the end of NATO.
Could be, but the reason that he went in, you know, and now it's obviously having an oil consequence, which, as we've said, has a resulting effect on everything in terms of consumer goods and everything, because of the transportation costs. But the reason that Trump did what he did was, A, because the regime was killing tens of thousands of its own people. Let's not forget that. That's how this started 2 or 3 weeks ago.
That.
And because the first Ayatollah, I don't know how many, are we on the second or third Ayatollah now?
I think he was the second.
It's like Ayatollah Whack-a-Bowl, isn't it? So, yeah, I think we're still on the second. But successive Ayatollahs, particularly the last one that obviously was taken out, they have been the greatest, biggest, most sinister sponsors of terrorism, whereby that terrorism across the planet has killed people in the West, maimed them, injured them. That's why Trump went in. And we're saying that we want to stand back and have nothing to do with it.
Yeah. And the idea that we're supposed to just leave them to carry on doing that, while just saying, well, they can't have a nuclear weapon, but it's okay for them to send loads and loads of really, really horrible people across the world to blow things up.
Yeah. But we need to use. What if there's an issue that we have, whether it's, I don't know, Gibraltar or the Falklands? Let's say Milei, who I've got loads of time for, by the way, in Argentina, decides, okay, we're in a bit of a role here. It seems that Russia can invade Ukraine, and you know, Trump can do what he wants with Iran. Everybody can, and the Venezuela thing. I'll now try and take the Falklands back. Starmer gets on the phone to Trump and says, would you help us? What do you think Trump's going to say? Sod off.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, here's the quote from old Richard III. Our plan is clear: to build for growth, to champion innovation, and to make Britain the place where the industries of the future are created.
Yeah.
I mean, do you think they live in some kind of parallel universe? Do you think they realise how stupid they sound?
Yes.
Where they just literally, I mean, like Starmer there with Carney saying, you know, we've built a coalition of willing, you know, the leadership that we have in the Ukraine.
It's all window dressing PR nonsense.
Rubbish.
It's because Starmer just wants to be seen as a statesman. But the more he stands on the world stage, Starmer, the more humiliated he gets because he's seen, obviously, he's pathetic. But get this as well, though. You would imagine that anyone that funds the Iranian regime, given that it has its, you know, has rather terrorist-like tendencies, would be kind of banned and banished from the Western world, right? No. Get this. Ali Ansari, who has decided to put in a planning application in London. Ali Ansari is a funder of the previous Iranian regime, apparently. Very, very close friend of the new Ayatollah.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd think he'd be persona non gratis. No. He's just been granted planning permission in London to build 33 luxury flats in Bishop's Avenue. Can you believe that?
I mean,
he's sanctioned.
This is in addition to the 3 massive houses that the current Ayatollah owns in Bishop's Avenue.
Yes. So a council somewhere, a planning committee...
Why don't they just rename it to Ayatollah's Avenue? You know, forget
Iran
Bishop's.
Road.
Yeah, forget Bishops. Just call it Ayatollah's Avenue.
Tehran Terrace.
Yeah.
Yes.
I like it. Why not? By the way...
What's going on?
Telegraph has got a piece here saying that the Ayatollah's son escaped death by popping into the garden for a stroll. So if you've got a garden, it's always handy to nip out...
To miss the missiles.
Yeah, to miss the missiles. Because this would also suggest that story about how they had all their teeth implanted with tracking devices...
And tracking stuff.
is true, because they knew where they were.
Yeah.
But obviously they missed it.
Well, the IDF are very, very clever. Do you remember the pager incident?
Yeah, that was
where they
fantastic.
distributed pagers and it blew everyone's...
nuts off.
Nuts.
Yeah.
Their nuts off, I mean, which was just absolutely hilarious.
Tremendous, wasn't it? Yeah. Go on. What do you got? Richard III Society, there you go. Patron HRH, the Duke of Gloucester. Blimey. Researching and reassessing. There's obviously some movement afoot where people are going to start defending Richard III.
Well, shall we all join and try and take it over?
Yeah,
that'd be quite funny, wouldn't it?
The show should join, definitely.
We should definitely join.
Before I go,
just joined. He's in the house.
Before I go, can we talk about the disappointment that is Banksy?
Yes, we must do.
Did you see this?
No, but you were telling me about it.
He's been unveiled,
has he?
Right? So obviously he's been...
So now we know who he is.
We do, right? And you would think that Banksy, obviously he's had decades and decades of this notoriety.
See, that's exactly how I thought he would look.
No, I thought he'd be like an Andy Warhol type. I thought he'd be cool and down with the kids. He looks like a geography teacher, for Christ's sake.
No, he should be in that led by donkeys crowd, shouldn't he?
But this is right. So unfortunately, I'm really disappointed in this. Banksy turns out to be Robin Gunningham of Bristol.
Yeah. Yeah,
that's it.
That sounds
who
about
then
right.
Changed his name to Dave Jones for some kind of attempt at anonymity. So, I mean, and obviously, multi-millionaire. Obviously, he's not stupid, is he? Because he's sold a lot of the stuff that he's done for a fortune. But I thought that he might be a little bit cooler and a little bit more down with the kids than Robin,
but he might have
geography
been.
teacher
He might have been
Bristol.
when he started. You know,
or maybe. Obviously, been doing
but
it
in
a while.
the end, they all
he's in his 50s now.
All these socialists in their 50s end up looking like Paul Weller, don't they, for the Jam?
Yeah.
You know, who's basically past his prime by a long chalk. You know.
What did he value his work, Mike?
What? Because he looks like that?
Because they don't know who he is.
No, because I don't think so.
No, I don't think so. It's still cool stuff. It is cool stuff.
I'm not a fan, actually.
Aren't you?
No.
No, I think he's kind of political commentary by way of that.
It's a very one-dimensional political commentary, though, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, it's like, but I guess
all right-wingers are horrible,
take
and
out whether
the
you agree
Tories
with it
are
or
all
not.
nasty bastards.
It's quite funny. It's quite funny and quite thoughtful, I think.
I'm getting a bit worried about you, Russell.
Are you?
Yeah.
Am I moving to the left?
I think
Ain't never going to happen.
You need a bit of an adjustment. We'll have you some re-education for you next week. The other big stories we're going to cover today: the £18 billion pothole nightmare. There's a new report out which says, and we're going to get Mr. Pothole on in a minute as well to talk about it. But people are now having punch-ups in the street because they're so fed up being held up. I mean, I came in this morning, 2 temporary traffic lights. I mean, this is in the space of about 2.5-3 miles. 2 temporary traffic lights and a bus lane closed on the Old Kent Road, which meant there was massive traffic jams at 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Well, Essex Roads now
people are jumping out of their cars and punching people.
Essex Roads now look like Dresden.
Yeah.
It looks like it looks like it's been carpet bombed.
Yeah.
But seriously, I did an FOI request of Essex County Council to see if Mr. Pothole likes this, because the problem is so bad in Essex.
Yeah.
How many potholes did you fix in Essex in 2025 compared to 2024? Right, just a very simple question. They had to answer it. Guess what? 26% fewer potholes in Essex were fixed last year compared to the year before.
Why?
So these county councils are definitely not doing the job that they're paid to do. And at the same time as putting council tax up by 4%, of course, it's absolutely disgraceful.
I know, it is an absolute nightmare. And everybody's having to pay hundreds and hundreds of pounds more to get their cars fixed because they're getting really badly
damaged. Well, the councils are paying more probably in reparations because of the damage that's been done. As opposed to just fixing
and
the
do you know what's
potholes.
funny? When we started doing speech radio back in the early part of the century, sort of early 2000s, and we used to get sort of mocked by the BBC types, all you talk about is phone-ins on potholes. Well, guess what? Now the BBC are doing phone-ins on potholes.
Well, and because they matter.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, this kind of highbrow political stuff to most people doesn't matter as much as the stuff that affects them on a daily basis, right? Which is the cost of living, the cost of fuel, crime,
food,
antisocial behaviour, and potholes. And actually, maybe it's about time that politicians, particularly local councillors, started to realise what actually floats the boat of their voters in terms of what they want and need.
That would be nice, wouldn't it? Great to see you, Russell, as ever. Thank you very much indeed. We've got much, much more to do. Kelvin McKenzie's here. We've got loads to talk about, including Angela Rayner, who apparently may owe even more tax than she thought. Because it turns out that she was gifted a barrister to give her some legal advice on the tax that she already owes, council tax and indeed stamp duty, because it was provided by the Labour Party, but she may now have to pay tax on that advice because, of course, it's a benefit in kind, according to HMRC. Plus, she's been at the City talking to City sort of bankers and people, saying that if she becomes the next leader of the Labour Party, it won't lurch to the left. Of course it won't. It's time for some news, I think, with Edward Hughes.
Good morning, I'm Edward Hughes with your news. Tensions remain high over the Iran conflict as President Trump criticises Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying he's not happy with the UK's response and urging more support to secure the Strait of Hormuz. The UK has firmly stated it will not join any offensive war against Iran, focusing instead on defensive Allied efforts and protecting shipping lanes amid rising energy prices. Chancellor Rachel Reeves pledges £1 billion for quantum technology procurement to boost future industry. A major meningitis outbreak in Kent has claimed 2 lives, a 6th form pupil and a university student, with 11 others seriously ill and hundreds are receiving antibiotics. Elsewhere, the pothole repair backlog in England and Wales hits a record £18.6 billion, labelled a national disgrace, while Reform UK pledges to scrap VAT and green levies on energy bills to ease household costs. More details throughout the day. Please remember to like and subscribe. Latest Tigers.
Welcome back. And of course, Russell Quirk is still in the building. Thank you, Russ, for that. Looking through all the various stories in the papers. A lot of the front page headlines this morning on Trump and Starmer, but also on this meningitis outbreak, which seems to have been terribly badly handled by all and sundry. Kelvin Mackenzie's here. Kelvin, very good morning to you.
Morning, Jamal.
We've got lots to talk about this morning, including, of course, the Angela Rayner tax thing. But this meningitis story is awful, isn't it?
Okay,
Dreadful.
So here we have going on right now. At a cost of £200 million, trying to work out what went wrong with COVID and why it spread so quickly and and all. A total waste of time, as has now been proved by meningitis, because the meningitis outbreak happened on Friday.
Yes.
And they knew about it. They knew there was more than one.
They're saying that the club in question, Club Chemistry, was visited on March 5th, 6th or 7th. So it's actually a week before almost, you know?
Yeah. And not a word was said until Sunday. Why is this? And I'll tell you why it is. Because our country is run by medical civil servants in this area. And they decided to keep it all to themselves. Why they did that? Could it be that a weekend was involved, and therefore they took the view that I'm not saying this is certainly the case, that the weekend was theirs and not to be interfered with by work.
Have you ever been to a hospital at the weekend?
A nightmare. Yeah.
Because I used to walk past on a daily basis Guy's Hospital. On the way to work. I used to park in the NCP car park, which is going bust now, despite the fact that they charged me £40 a day. £800 a month I used to pay.
It was on a personal basis they did that.
Exactly right.
They didn't like you and they didn't like your car.
No, but the bloody place was full every day, right? And I'd walk past Guy's Hospital. There was always a queue of ambulances, queue of cars, taxis, people getting dropped off. I went, when I started doing, I think for a period of time I did work on a Saturday, did a show on a Saturday. There's literally nobody there. The whole place was like a ghost town. Because you can walk through as well.
Don't be ill. Don't be ill on the weekend.
And the weekends, and we had a story just the other week, didn't we, about junior doctors saying that many of them are now claiming to be suffering ADHD, which means they can't work on a Saturday or a Sunday.
No. In fact, yes, it aggravates their health condition. By Saturday and Sunday.
Just at the weekends.
But this will come back to West Streeting.
Yes.
So I'm pleased to see that Angela Rayner's ambitions are completely being trashed now. Not only didn't she pay the 40 grand, she now has got another tax issue coming up by receiving. So West Streeting will have to explain, and I want him to explain to you, because it could be your children, or it could be your friends' children, or it could be somebody you're vaguely associated with, right? Why it is that when the medical authorities knew about it on the Friday, for absolutely certain that nothing happened until the weekend.
Until the Sunday.
Until the Sunday night, I'm sorry. And therefore, what is the system when a dangerous meningitis outbreak exists? Now, perhaps Streeting should say how proud he is of the health service and that they acted as quickly as they could. And perhaps it won't be long before we're all standing outside our homes banging drums or banging saucepans for the health staff.
Yeah, I didn't do that, by the way.
That's only because of your domestic position, you haven't actually got any pots and pans.
To be honest, there was some truth to that in the basis that I was 3 floors up and I couldn't be bothered walking down 3 floors. But I used to look out the window and go, but no, I used to, because I'd go, when eventually I'd head back to see my kids at the weekends in Sussex.
Well, don't tell me they were banging pots.
No, I'd say to them, are you going to bang some pots for me? Because I've been working all week, doing my job for which I get reasonably well paid, which is what they were doing. Unbelievable stuff. But this has serious consequences, because it seems it's not clear at the moment that everybody has been tracked down, potential carriers of it, or people actually potentially suffering from it. So this is an important health alert with much more, no, not much more, with dangerous consequences unless you receive, I think it's antibiotics, isn't it? And even then, if it's developed, you're in trouble. Well, it says there's a sort of a period when it's in incubation for 3 to 5 days, which is long past now.
Yeah.
So if people have got it, and I know from terrible kind of examples of this from when my sister was at university, she had a friend who died of meningitis who was only about 19 or something on holiday because once it gets you, it's very, unless you've got antibiotics immediately, it's a really, really deadly disease, and in 2 days you can be dead. It's horrible.
So if there's at least one of the victims of it, or one of the sufferers of it, is in a coma at the moment, and I noticed there was a university professor from East Anglia saying effectively questions need to be answered.
Paul Hunter, I think his name is.
About the delay. And look, this is why you have a Secretary of State for Health. He's
gone very quiet lately, hasn't he, on West Street?
Yes, he's going to have to come out of his cave and explain what is going on. So he needs to carry out an investigation right now to discover when the authorities definitely knew, and why didn't they say anything for 48 hours.
Right.
This was an enormously important medical issue, and once again, I suspect that the Labour government will be found wanting.
And again, another question I would ask is, what's the protocol here? If there is something like a deadly meningitis outbreak, what are they supposed to do? Should they have informed the Department of Health, for example? Should they have informed the Secretary of State? Should there have been a nationwide emergency? I don't know.
Well, I tell you what it does mean. We already know that there will now be another public inquiry. Because if, for instance, and let's God hope that this doesn't happen, that if there turns out to be, even two more deaths due to this, then somebody has to explain to us the whys and the wherefore. It could well be that the delay didn't matter, or it could mean that actually the people are dead because of it. In which case, this is a serious issue, and I think I'm not saying on behalf of myself, on behalf of everybody, that this needs an important response.
Well, the picture of Juliet Kenny, an 18-year-old grammar school pupil, A-level student. Imagine you're her parents. They'll be asking all the same questions you're asking. Just awful, horrible, ghastly stuff. Okay, look, we've got loads of people to talk to this morning, including Kelvin, who's here for the duration, but also William Yarwood is here for the Taxpayers Alliance, because just yesterday, our esteemed leader, Keir Starmer, got up on his hind legs and decided to tell us all how he was going to deal with the cost of living crisis. William, very good morning to you. You seem less than convinced by Starmer's plan.
Yeah, morning, Mike, and that's a very polite way of putting it, I suppose. I mean, Keir Starmer's speech yesterday was little more than a sort of sanctimonious sermon about how, in all reality, this Iran crisis proves that we need to double down on mental net zero policies and how we need to go faster and further on the issue, while also denying the British people what they really want, which is obviously the extending of the fuel duty freeze that is not going to be extended after September, because Keir Starmer believes that, the situation will be different then. But if you're looking at the way oil prices are spiking at the moment, and you're looking at the way this Iran crisis is not going anywhere, that's the clearest and easiest way in which to avoid petrol prices and diesel prices just going through the roof, or more specifically, going up by almost 9% in September. So Keir Starmer, as usual, just sounded completely out of touch, captured by Ed Miliband and members of his own cabinet on this net zero agenda. And I don't think the British people thought that Keir Starmer's speech, or indeed any speech by Keir Starmer, is going to really address the real problems of the cost of living crisis, which his government is contributing to, especially on the cost of energy.
Well, exactly right. And Ed Miliband, it was pointed out to him on Sunday by various different broadcasters, is responsible for at least 50% and plus of the petrol price at the pumps, right? 38% in fuel tax, and a further bunch of tax on VAT on top of that. So it comes to something like 51, 52%. And as Laura Kunsberg said to him, I mean, well, first of all, you could reduce the fuel tax a bit if you want to make it easier for people. But I'm seeing a story today in the Telegraph, I don't know if you've seen this, according to Granville Park Partners, using the Office for Budget Responsibility's own rules, Rachel Reeves will bank almost £3 billion in extra tax revenue if the war in Iran leads to a sustained increase in oil and gas prices. Because she'll be taxing the oil and gas manufacturers, she'll be putting a windfall tax on the North Sea, and she'll make a load of money. So maybe they want it this way.
Well, yeah, I mean that's one of the arguments. I mean, one of the reasons, like you said, that I doubt they will, or at least at the moment, they seem to be incapable of reversing on this fuel duty hike, is because they want to rake more and more money in just before the budget, so they can have more money to spend, possibly on welfare, because their backbenchers, of course, have an insatiable lust for spending more money on welfare that we simply can't afford. But Keir Starmer can't, on the one hand, talk about how he understands the cost of living crisis, how he's on the British people's side, and then fiddle around the edges with like bailout packages for oil and oil lamps, while motorists in the country are going to be hit hard by almost 9% fuel duty hike in September. And also, like you said earlier, this is a clear example of something the government can do, because the majority of what you pay at the pumps is on tax, whether it's on fuel duty, whether it's on VAT. I mean, we at the Taxpayers Alliance not just call for the extending of the fuel duty free spike, but we call for the disapplying of VAT on fuel altogether, because that VAT is applied on top of the fuel duty, making the price even more expensive. So I think that Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves could do this. They have it in the power to do this. But for the moment, it seems like they don't want to, because like you said, Mike, they want to raise more and more money because they just keep spending it on, well, hilariously, spending it on net zero projects, spending it on foreign aid, spending it on illegal migrant hotels. They need this money because they can't seem to get it any other way. And also, why not hit motorists harder when you're letting other people who are, higher rate taxpayers leave the country because of your own mental economic policies?
Well, this is it. I mean, Kelvin, I don't know about you, but I suspect that Miliband is behind a lot of this, and he wouldn't allow any taxes to be reduced on motorists because he basically hates them.
Yes, the reality is that the real, I mean, I admire what Taxpayer Alliance do, because they put a spotlight on areas that most people take for granted as a cost of actually existing. But we have a massive problem in our country, which is that actually we aren't making enough, we aren't creating enough profits, we aren't doing enough stuff to compete with the world in a commercial way, that somehow all that's going to happen, this is, if you think things are bad now, if you close your eyes in about 5-7 years' time, actually, unless we start making stuff that the world wants to buy from us, unless we have cleverer business people who are cleverer than civil servants and the left who want to take it off you, then I'm afraid the world is the world of a British person, a British family, is going to get tougher. There is no good news out there for us at the moment. We need to work harder. And by the way, NCP going bust, an example when they said, well, actually, nobody's going to work anymore is another reason on top of COVID that we went pop, right? Should be a wake-up call to us all. And I know it sounds terrible. Work-life balance is a disastrous message in which I'm afraid Asians who don't have a welfare basis for their lives, right? And actually, if you go to Vietnam, one of the things that I enjoyed about Vietnam, there was aspects of it I didn't enjoy, was a series of shops, of little shops, clearly selling anything they could get hold of, right? We don't believe in that kind of stuff. And so the trouble is, unless we come up with clever ideas, unless we encourage the idea at university that making money is a good thing, it has a moral basis. And also, we are going to be having these discussions, and Taxpayers Alliance will be the only people in the world employing people in this country.
Well, because the point is that it's not only about making money and encouraging people to come up with innovative ideas, it's about not making it so difficult for them once they actually make a success of a company, because you tax it out of existence, right?
Yeah, completely. And Calvin's completely correct. I mean, this government mutters on constantly about growth and how, it's the way to get out of this, mess that we're in. But then in the first budget, what did Rachel Reeves do? It's like, oh, let's increase an employer's national insurance, which is going to hit businesses, especially small businesses, the hardest. Oh, I know. Let's introduce an unemployment rights bill to shove more regulation on businesses. I know. Let's dramatically increase the minimum wage so that young people cannot get on the job wrong, and then they're scratching their heads. They're scratching their heads as to why unemployment's gone through the roof, why growth has absolutely, tanked. And they should look in a mirror, quite frankly, because they're the reasons why all this is happening. This government can say one thing, like it always has since it first came into power. This government says one thing and endlessly does another. Not just because they don't understand how an economy actually grows, but because they have an ideological position that they need to maintain, which is basically to make the state even bigger and provide welfare and also, provide, money for Ed Miliband's, as we were saying earlier, crazy net zero projects, because it's all ideological to these people. It's not about growth. It's not about improving the cost of living. And it's also not about improving the average everyday lives of British people.
Yeah. Do you know what I found bizarre? They announced the other day with a great load of hoopla that if you employ a young person who is been out of work or has been on universal credit for 6 months or more, they will give they will give to you as a small-time employee £3,000. Right. Well, the reason you've already paid that, the £3,000 was deposited through either increased minimum pay, increased NI, or whatever, right? All they're doing is taking this and going like that. Why did they not do that in the first place? Why didn't they just say, we're not going to do that? We are absolutely in favour of young people working. Well, thank you very much indeed.
Why not? Yeah, just make it easier for young people to be employed then.
Why don't they just say there are no taxes involved? By the way, hire everybody. The thing that concerns me most, and this is where I do agree with Labour, is that if you're out of work for a period of time, the chances of you coming back into work are quite small. Yeah. Imagine that. You go to uni, right? You go to uni and you come out and you say, I'm here, and then all you get is a right? Nobody wants to hire you. How are you going to feel like that? You've totted up 50 or 60 grand, right? Your parents didn't face this issue, and even your grandparents didn't face this issue, and suddenly you find yourself, it's not that you can't get work, you find yourself unwanted. Yeah. How on earth do you feel about that? Every government's responsibility outside defending the country is to make sure young people have work, because once they have the work, then they can decide what they want to do. They can go and either start their own businesses or they can get on the ladder.
But it's harder as well, depending on where they are in the country. If you're not anywhere near the southeast, you've got a problem in a lot of places. But I mean, William, this government just goes from bad to worse, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, Mike. I mean, if anybody is hoping for anything worthwhile coming out of this government that's going to help them with the cost of living, that's going to help them, with their, struggling business, then they're not going to get it, quite frankly, because as Kelvin quite rightly said, they shouldn't have done a lot of this stuff in the first place. And actually, on that point, it just proves how captured this group of politicians is by the civil service and what I like to call treasury brain. These guys are just they cause a problem. They cause a problem, and then the next thing they do is they say, oh, well, actually, the way to solve this problem, the way to resolve this problem is quite clearly by introducing new packages and, so we can do little press conferences and big speech and proves that we're doing something. These guys are causing the problems in the country that they want to solve, like youth unemployment, like the high cost of energy, and quite frankly, the best thing this government could do is reverse on most of the policies, if not all of the policies that it's implemented since it first came into power.
Yeah. Absolutely right. William Yarwood, Taxpayers Alliance, thank you very much indeed. Good to talk to you. We've got plenty of super chats coming in.
He's a good guy.
He's a great guy. He slightly changed his location from the last time, but we'll talk to him about that later.
Where's he gone?
Well, I don't know. But he's just in a different background from the one he normally has. We keep a sharp eye on these things. A couple of super chats, Pooch, should we do? Yeah. Do we have any? I've got a poll as well. How about this? The most unlikely thing to happen. All religions make peace and agree. Trump and Hillary Clinton make up. The sun stops rising, or Keir Starmer answers the Prime Minister's question, which at the moment is winning, 81%. Very unlikely.
Do you know what? You're looking at Starmer now. It looks as though he's sat on the wrong end of a very, very rough pineapple. I honestly, something's happened. It's also that weight you're losing is actually going on Starmer.
Yeah, it is.
So he's clearly, what's happening there? He's on the terps.
Yeah.
He's getting in there like that. And he said, have you heard what's happened? No. Oh no! Right.
It's like that scene in, Naked Gun. A bad day to give up the whiskey. Next is a bad day to give up amphetamines. There once was Rachel Reeves with a plan, compared cheekily to Richard III in the land. With budgets so tight and coffers in plight, she ruled with a rather bad hand. Very good. That's from Seaside Babe.
Yeah.
Very nice. So, what have we got? We're going to do potholes in a minute. Two stories about potholes. Mr. Pothole is here. We're going to say a very good morning to him.
Yeah.
One, the £18 billion black hole pothole problem has now got to such a ridiculous level. It would take 12 years to complete. This is a figure from Mr. Pothole. But also, the other story that I quite like, inside the Mail on page 21, I think it is, people are getting out of their cars and having punch-ups now with workmen in the roads, right? Because it's so bad that people can't get anywhere. Look, pothole. Motorists are attacking workmen. Surge of anger at the state of our roads. And it says,
but who are they attacking?
Attacking the people digging up in, because when you get to a temporary traffic light, and there are people fixing the road for some reason or other. More often than not, there's nobody there. Right?
Well, especially, you're quite right.
Workers are being spat at, sworn at, even punched amid growing delays in fixing potholes. As I said,
but I get told by a council guy. I get this told secondhand, so I didn't see it myself. I get told that actually these work guys are turning up with their own traffic lights.
Yes.
Right. But without any permissions, because it makes their lives easier, whereas it makes your life a lot more difficult. And then every so often, so a friend of mine did this, contacted the council, meets the council lady, she goes to these people and says, "You've got no permission for that." They then took it down. This happened in Weybridge, right? Honestly, round my way, the game we've got to get into, we're going to scrap this show. Abandoning the show. The show is going to come to an end. We're going into traffic light either rentals or traffic light actually making them.
Yeah.
And we should make different ones with different colours.
Yeah.
Why should it always just be red and green?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's talk to Mr. Pothole, who knows a thing or two about this subject. Mr. Pothole, a very good morning. Mark, good to see you.
Good morning, Mike.
Now, listen, I know that, this guy's been fighting the good fight for years and years and years and years.
But he doesn't look well on it, though,
He's not. He's got a couple of issues with his health at the moment.
Got some heart problems.
He's got some heart problems. Don't be unkind. He's not surprisingly been driven to ill health by the state of the roads in Britain, you'd have to say, right? But it's now at the point where, according to the Mail, people are getting out of their cars and getting into punch-ups. We've got 18 billion or 19 billion quid's worth of potholes to be fixed. They're not getting fixed. What's going on?
Well, I don't advocate the abuse of the road workers. I blame the old culture within the sort of management and structure starts from government down.
Yeah.
But I think frustration is, you said you see roadworks with no works being carried out. I wouldn't go into traffic lights, I'd go into cones, because with the amount of cones we see on roads that don't do anything, it's the biggest scam going.
Yeah.
I think frustration is when you see four guys doing a repair of a small pothole and two guys on their phones while two guys are working. I think the public and taxpayers have had enough. I get some videos and pictures of people carrying out repairs. One of the funniest ones, which is a bit sad, really. In terms of a comic humour, which we've always got in Great Britain, someone compacting a pothole repair of tarmac using a gas canister. That's the state that we've got to, and that's what the public see. And treading in potholes. There's I think strictly pothole might be the next thing for road workers, treading in tarmac into repairs. It's a nonsense.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
We should ask Mr. Pothole to send all those videos to you.
Yeah, I know.
When you get them, Mr. Pothole, you send them here, and Mike will put them out.
It's good. It's a good thing.
I will do. As for the backlog, I sent Mike a graph showing back from the year 2000 how it's gone from £3.75 billion up to nearly £19 billion. Now, in the first 20 years, from 2020 to 2022, the average increase was 500 million. Then from 2020 to 2025, it's 1.2 billion. And then in this last year, it's gone up by 1.8 billion. And that doesn't include the last couple of months of really bad weather where we've had a pothole Armageddon. the network's failing. I mean, extra money that's being put in by government is not going to make any difference because, measuring success by repairing potholes is a sign of failure and neglect to maintain your roads. Resurfacing our roads, you need to put an extra £3 billion a year, index linked year on year, into resurfacing, plus do a complete culture train. And every operative that carries out work on those pothole repairs should have to do mandatory training. And I think we should use AI to vet and monitor the quality of repairs. I think there's a lot could be done, a complete strategy to turn it around.
Exactly right.
Badly maintained roads is estimated to cost the UK economy £14.4 billion a year. If you invest to save, you could halve that in 10 years. And also create jobs, apprenticeships. There's loads that could be done. It's an untapped thing. Stop wasting billions of pounds on pet projects, things like HS2, and then obviously now we're talking about the Thames crossing. Our roads are failing. People are dying. People are getting injured. Motorists are paying through the thing. And stop fed up with being a cash cow.
Exactly right. I mean, I was listening to a woman mechanic who was on bizarrely the BBC on my way in. My apologies for listening to them. Radio 5 Live. And she was saying the problem is that people are now having to pay through the nose. She said, I had a customer come in yesterday for a regular service, which would have cost about 150 quid. She said she put the car up on the ramp and she looked underneath and all the coils from all the wheels were sort of falling out. And she said she had to fix them. So the woman ends up getting a bill for about 500 quid. And she said her concern is that if you've got a car in that kind of state, you don't know it's in that kind of state, you can have an accident, you can have a blowout on your tyre, and it's a safety issue, So it's a massive problem. It's almost like you want that Roosevelt kind of workers, what do they call it? It had a name, didn't they? After 1945, when they built all the roads in America, and they basically had this kind of, superstructure, and it was all about giving work to the ordinary people after the war. I mean, we sort of need something like that, like a program to get all the people who haven't got any work at the moment work on the bleeding roads.
But the people who haven't got any work at the moment won't come and do a job if the money isn't rapidly different. So you're going to have to reduce benefits to make going to work worthwhile.
Well, maybe give them benefits as long as they work on the roads.
Yeah,
something like that. I mean, it's as radical as that is what is required.
There was a pothole round my way on the way to the car park, on the way to the railway car park. Honestly,
right.
I thought that they were starting an extension of HS2. This was a serious issue.
Yeah.
I knew where it was, therefore I kind of swerved around it.
Yeah.
But if anybody went along there and went boom into it, then they were going to face the issue.
At night you can't see it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And one of the issues, I've said this to you before, Mr. Pothole, and I think one of the reasons that it's got a lot worse in recent years is electric vehicles. You imagine how heavy these vehicles are, right? Teslas. There's one there. This is from Heathership who agrees with me. EVs are heavy, they bust up roads. But it's not just the cars. You see all these supermarket lorries now, vans that deliver all your food to you.
Yeah.
They're all electric.
Yeah.
Electric buses, which must weigh tons and tons.
Electric politicians.
Electric politicians, yep. Electric soup. Used to be the Hugh McIlvanney drink of choice. No, but the thing is, it must be doing damage to the roads because if you're driving such heavy vehicles,
Yeah, heavy goods vehicles are the equivalent of about 10,000 axle loads compared to a car. So you're quite right. I mean, electric cars, yes, and the torque, it's not only the weight, it's the torque, the amount of acceleration. So the load they put on those wheels transfer from the tyres to the tarmac is much larger than a conventional combustion engine. But it all comes down to, and I'll get fed up with this thing about blaming bad weather, because well-maintained roads don't get affected by bad weather. It's because we've lacked investment in resurfacing no roads. All those cracking and crazing means that water gets in, and you don't need necessarily just frost. Yeah, frost accelerates it, but vehicle loads cause hydrostatic pressure in those cracks and crazing in the road. So therefore, it manifests in potholes. I did some work with an AI company and that free app called Stanley app, which I mentioned before, and myself and a number of my followers cover 10% of the network in the UK. That's a complete mix of urban and rural roads. Yeah. Based upon the figures there, that was in 2024. There was 11.5 million potholes and defects on our road. Well, surprise, surprise, nothing's happened to those. And then we've had all this rain, and all those seeds of future potholes have now manifest themselves. So I can see it getting worse. The next year's report will be in excess of £2 billion backlog. Government need to get hold of it. I think it's out of control, and I think they need to have a complete strategy to change, as I said, not only resurfacing, training, culture, better contracts, better deliverables, good old-fashioned stuff, good old supervision. when I was in the gas industry, I was responsible for the replacement of the small diameter gas mains in central London, and we did that on a phased basis in a zonal area and got efficiencies of scale. These things, an engineering for value. These things seem to have gone, and also I don't think they give good coaching and feedback to employees that don't do a good job.
That's right. Absolutely right, Mr. Pothole. Listen, good to see you, and good luck with the upcoming op and all the rest of it. And we'll see you on the other side.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, that's not very nice,
No,
is it? Well, let's hope it goes better than that.
On the other side of the operation is what I meant, obviously. Mr. Pothole, good to see you, man. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Anyway, listen.
What's up with him, anyway?
He had a heart attack.
Oh, has he? What?
Yeah.
Not while I'm talking to you.
No, just the other week, and so he's been in sort of hospital in and out. Yeah, and so they've been treating him and helping him to get to a point where they can give him an operation.
Oh, right.
So I think he's been very unkind, to be honest. But it's not to surprise me.
No. He accepted himself that the British humour, all humour is based around cruelty.
It is.
And
comedy, as Steve Martin used to say, comedy is not pretty.
No.
And it shouldn't be.
No. Correct.
A couple of really good messages coming in about the state of our councils, right? Here's one from Ed James. My council have put 12 quid on my council tax. Now they're inviting me to litter pick at the weekends. I mean, it's nonsense, isn't it? There's one from Hull as well. This one from Super Chat from TH. Scrap net zero. Dramatic new ice core evidence shows current century warming common throughout the last 400,000 years. That's a bit too complicated for me, that one. What about the one about Hull? That was a good one.
To Hull and back.
Super Chat, to Hull and back. Michelle Dewberry once offered to take me to Hull to show me the bright lights.
What?
I know the Marshall Plan was the money that
Did she offer to spend the weekend with you in Hull?
No, well, not at that moment. The Marshall Plan was the plan that America rebuilt Europe with, right? Now, here it is. Hull City Council spent an absolute fortune reducing part of an extremely busy ring road from 2 to 1 lanes and a bike lane, and now they're spending a fortune putting it back as it caused daily chaos. And this is going on all over the country. These councils are spending money, millions. There was another one that came in that said some other council spent 11 million putting a bike lane in.
Do you know, I mean, one of the things that London comes to a complete full stop. They wonder about why cars are going so slowly in London. And the reason they're going so slowly in London, there's a thing called a bus lane.
Yeah.
There's a thing called a bike lane.
Yeah.
There's a thing called a pavement.
Yeah.
What they've squeezed out of it is a thing called a car lane.
Car lane, yeah.
Right.
Well, that's what they've done on Jamaica Road, where they've got all of those things.
In Bermondsey?
Yeah, in Bermondsey. Yeah. So there's now a constant queue of traffic on Jamaica Road, no matter what time of day, because you can't. But the bike lane's empty and the bus lane's empty. There's nobody in it.
Look, there's a kind of madness that has gripped the country.
Yeah.
And it's gripped the town halls as well. So all the councils are now wanting to go over to 20 mile an hour limits. It is literally impossible to do that. And not only that, the other thing is that sometimes you're going at 30 and then it goes into a 20 and you don't really notice it, to be absolutely honest.
And then you get a ticket.
And of course you only need 4 of those, which are easily accumulated in London particularly. And I don't know, perhaps what your viewers will know, is Manchester going in the same direction?
Manchester is going the same way, yeah. Right. They've got all sorts of bus gates, because one of my kids is up there, and whenever you go up there, you can turn into a road without knowing that you weren't supposed to turn into it, right? And they've got bus lanes, they've got a tram service as well, which cuts us across everything. Yeah. And in fact, the last time I was up there, my son and I were going out for dinner. We jumped in an Uber to get from his place in Salford. We ended up getting out and walking because the traffic was that bad. Really? You know, it's terrible, really awful. And an awful lot of places as well are the same. Bristol's the same, Oxford's the same.
We've got a new show director, sorry.
Who's that?
We've got a new show director, I've got to leave.
Oh, Keith, move on from potholes, All right, Keith.
In charge.
What would you like us to talk about, Keith? Let us know, man. We've got lots and lots of guests coming up. Chris Morrison's coming up to talk about Keir Starmer and what an absolute shed load of madness it is. But before we know what we should do, because we haven't done this, the Sadiq Khan clip, Pooch, should we play that?
Can you stand it?
Well, I just wonder if we should put it out there for people, if they haven't seen it. This is Keir Starmer, and this is Sadiq Khan, rather, last night in Trafalgar Square. You won't believe your eyes. Check it out.
I've come to say thank you. I know you've done iftars in Brighton and Birmingham and Bradford and Blackburn and Cambridge and Glasgow. We saved the best till last, right? we think that we will have more people doing iftar here today than ever before. We think we're going to break the record for the biggest iftar, not just in London, not just in UK, not just in Europe, but in the Western world. And it only happens because we've got great volunteers like you working for Ramadan 10 Project. So, subhanallah, jazakallah khair, and thank you very, very, very much. So, give yourselves a round of applause. I want to take a photograph with the best volunteers in the world. So, are you ready? Yeah! Even you at the back, Uncle, are you ready? Yeah!
Guys, can we all take a step back, please? Can we take a step back?
So, little Sadiq Khan wants to have the biggest iftar, which is sort of a mass praying event in the Western world.
Oh, right.
In Trafalgar Square.
Why does he want that? Could it possibly be connected with the fact that suddenly all Islam artifacts are now hugely attractive because to him, especially not because of his own personal religion, but because it looks as though in the polling he's going to get thrown out one way or another by a mixture of Reform and the Greens in London. Now, that would be a price worth paying were it not for the fact it looks as though the Greens...
Well, if the Greens get in, though, what are they going to do to London?
Well, we become one enormous iftar.
I mean, if you thought that the bus lane, cycle lane problem was bad now, you know, how do you think they're going to deal with it? They'll probably shut all the roads altogether.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right. So you've got the bus lane, that's fine.
Yeah.
You've got the bike lane, that's fine.
That's all right.
And then we have the pavement lane.
The rest will be a low traffic neighbourhood with a couple of plant pots in it. You won't be able to go down it.
No, there will be you won't be allowed to bring your car into London.
Yeah.
No, actually, if you have a car in London, you'll have to leave.
This is something very rare.
Okay.
Right? I got this the other day.
Don't tell me it's a refund.
It is.
For your tax?
No, it's not really for my tax, but I was given a penalty charge for making an illegal right turn, funnily enough, on Jamaica Road. And I challenged it because I said to them there was a temporary sign there that said I could do it.
Yeah.
And they've actually cancelled the penalty.
And was there a temporary sign there? You didn't make that up?
I didn't make it up, no. It's shocking that you would think that I would do something like that.
Do you know what? The fact that you're connected with journalism and you're still telling the truth is an astonishing...
Well, listen, I've done nothing but tell the truth in my entire career, and people know that, which is why we're doing so well here. Which reminds me, we have to talk about... What are we doing with Chris Morrison? OK, let's do Chris Morrison next. Chris, very good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Mike. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Good to see you. Now, you're from the Daily Sceptic, which is an organ which we very much admire here at the Mike Graham Show. So well done to you for that. Oil and gas, Keir Starmer, dead ducks. You know, there's all sorts of places we can go here. But fundamentally, Keir Starmer's policy here is completely and utterly misguided, isn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking about... this yesterday, and a short story, if I may, just comes to mind. There's a conjurer on a cruise ship, and he used to perform nightly to big crowds, and he had a parrot on his shoulder, a rather pesky bird that used to give away the tricks. He used to say, "It's up his sleeve, it's in his pocket." Anyway, one day, boom, boilers blew up, and our conjurer found himself on a plank of wood in the open sea, and for 4 days he had his parrot with him as well. The parrot looked at him quizzically, and then finally said, "OK, I give up. Where have you put the frigging ship?" Now,
that's very good.
Now, that reminds me these days of where have we put the frigging energy security. We don't have energy security anymore, despite what the sinister Miliband says. He's destroyed it. He's destroyed it.
Sinister. That's a great word for him. He's totally sinister, isn't he?
Well, I used to call him mad, but I understood that he quite enjoyed that. He used to go around, boasting about how everybody called him mad. I think he's sinister. I think, you have to ask, why is he doing this? Because it doesn't make any sense at all. The lies that they tell are off the scale. They have destroyed our energy security. I was a financial journalist more decades ago than I care to remember. And I remember writing about stories about marine insurance in the Straits of Hormuz and Shat El Arab and all these places around here. We know that we get oil from difficult places sometimes, and we know that the supply isn't particularly good. That's why we discovered, thankfully, we discovered oil in the North Sea. That was why we started drilling it, and that's why we became energy sufficient. And we were energy sufficient up until about 2004. And of course, now we have this invented climate crisis that the ideologues, the sinister Miliband, who's essentially, as far as I can see, a Marxist. It's a command and control economy that if you take control of hydrocarbons, you control everything. So they invented this climate crisis, which has no real basis in science. It's all based on shonky computer models. They invented this this thing in order to, if you like, take control of the commanding heights of the economy. And look, this is what they've done to us. They have destroyed our energy security. We get huge amounts of oil from very unstable parts of the world, just like we did when I started in journalism all those decades ago.
Right. Which is unfortunate, really, given that we actually have quite a big, and even on the weekend, Miliband admitted that we've got decades worth of oil and gas still in the North Sea, which we're not doing anything about.
Yeah, well, probably got hundreds of years, we don't quite know, but the gas just sitting under our feet, the fracked gas. Americans certainly have. And in fact, we probably have more oil than we think because as mining techniques become more sophisticated, they can use better drilling techniques, they go deeper, they do all sorts of things. There's probably tons of oil out there. And yet we have purposely decided that we will no longer use it. It just beggars belief, really, and I think it's the lies they tell. I mean, not leaving aside the lies over the science. For instance, they say that it wouldn't matter if we expanded the supply of oil and gas. Well, I did an economics A level. I seem to remember that if you expand the supply of anything, the price comes down. But obviously, they don't live in the real world, as we know. The gas is freely available for us to take. We have hundreds of years supply. They say the lies they tell. For instance, they say that it will just get pushed out onto the world market. That is just simply a lie. Every time you see a Labour politician or anybody saying that, it's a lie. All of the gas from the North Sea that we drill goes straight into the British gas system. Now, a certain amount of that, or half of it, gets mixed with half the supply that we get from Norway, but it all goes into the British gas system. We export a small amount to the Irish Republic. I think we export a small amount to Belgium, but it's estimated that about 85-90% stays in the British gas market and is used by us to power our various things. It's simply a lie. If you buy oil from Qatar or America, you don't have a pipeline to Britain, you have to compress it. And that costs enormous amounts of money. Then you have to ship it thousands of miles. Then you have to uncompress it and put it in the pipeline. And of course it's more expensive. So they can't even get their facts straight. The fact is that renewables are hideously expensive because there is no backup for renewables. If the wind doesn't blow and the sun doesn't shine, as it didn't, for instance, in January last year, there was a period when there was no wind or very little, a week or so. What are we going to do? We're not actually, we're cutting down our own oil supplies and gas supplies. We are relying on unstable parts of the world, one of which has just gone up in flames, Quelle surprise, and we're simply shutting down our own supplies. We will freeze. The other point I think I'd make, just very brief about hydrocarbons, is that we talk a lot about energy, but hydrocarbons are in everything. What you're going to see now is you're going to see food prices rocketing because we use hydrocarbons to make fertilizer. What have we done with fertilizer? Well, in fact, this year is a huge tax is being put on carbon-based fertilizers coming from overseas. So fertilizer prices are already rising. They're going to rise even more because there's a shortage of oil now in the world, and that will lead to an increase in food prices. These lunatics, and I say lunatics, and I say sinister, and I use the word, guardedly. It is sinister, as 200 MPs in the House of Commons last year voted, or were going to vote, for the Climate and Nature Bill, if you recall, and that would have taken out 90% of our oil and gas within 10 years. We would literally have starved because we rely on fertilizer. Fertilizer has doubled the world's food supply in the last 60 years. We would have half the food.
Yeah.
Hydrocarbons are in everything. They're in medicines. They're in, obviously, plastics. They're in everything. Energy is a very, very small part of what we use hydrocarbons for. And electricity energy is even smaller. We still rely for 85% of our energy on hydrocarbons. So you can see how I add up all the way through the huge amount of hydrocarbons we need, how we need it to keep an modern industrial society going. And we have a Prime Minister, we have a Labour Party, we have a Green Party, we had until recently a Tory Party, and I still suspect quite a few of them would go along with that want to take it out of the mix. It is very, very sinister.
I know, it really is. It's a shocking state of affairs. Chris, great to talk to you. We must explore it some more as we go through this particularly ridiculous period of energy consumption and exploration. Chris Morrison there from the Daily Sceptic makes a lot of sense because, of course, Miliband will tell you that he believes very firmly that he can't control the price of gas because it's all set on the international markets, which is not true. And he's been told several times, and it's been explained to him several times when he's done interviews, that it's not true. And yet he continues to push this line. If we had our own gas supply, if we fracked our own gas, if we took our own gas out of the North Sea, gas would be cheaper. It's as simple as that.
Right. Well, what everybody is trying to do is to say, this is going to be the winner going forward. Actually, why don't we just leave it? Why don't we say we'll have oil and gas, we'll have wind and solar, and we'll have nuclear. Yeah. Why don't we just say we are going for three prongs?
For all of it, yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to see which one wins, or which one is most easily and cost effectively discovered and produced. Why is it we have to constantly say, this is going to be the winner and we're going to stay with it? And what we're going to do is we're going to subsidise that one on the hope that actually that will turn out to be the winner in the end. I think it's absolute madness. And this is where the politicians then become detached from the people. Yeah. So that anything that Miliband says now, nobody believes. No. And the idea that guy could become the next Prime Minister in the event of Starmer falling on his sword, or having the sword actually fall on him, right? Is honestly very dangerous for our country.
It really is.
I really worry about the state of the nation. And honestly, we're now seeing on the political front, Reeves ramping up that actually our future lies in Europe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Which it doesn't.
Well, the truth about the matter is, I tell you what's heading our way. I absolutely guarantee that in their next manifesto will be another vote on Europe, right? On the basis that
of some kind, right?
Yes. I think the whole 9
yards.
An
actual referendum
and
going back in?
Because they're working on the assumption that the economy in the UK will be so bad, and they would have spent the last 3 years saying the reason is we don't have growth is because we're not in Europe. Yeah. And that if unemployment's on the up and the economy is on the down, then they say, if we do this, everything will be fine. Yeah. And I think people will be attracted to that.
Well, we shall see. We asked people, by the way, throughout the show to let us know, because we've got this corkboard behind us about where people are watching from, right? One here from Palawan. You know where Palawan is?
I have no idea.
Because I didn't. LTL texted in on the chat. It's in the Philippines. So we've got somebody in the Philippines listening. We'll stick a note on the board, which would be good. I do know where the Philippines is. I mean, Pooch has been helping me out with some places. There was somebody from Tuvalu the other day, and he's made me put it way over on the left-hand side.
Actually, that's quite good. I tell you what's quite clear is that we're going to have a word with the people in South America, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
We're going, Venezuela, wake up.
Come on,
right?
you guys.
Otherwise, Trump will come and take you out of your bed.
Yeah.
And drop you in Vauxhall Studios, right? So come on, raise your game, Venezuela.
Now we've got to talk about something, you and I, because there was a piece that appeared in what many people won't recognise, but those of us in the media do recognise, a thing called Guido Fawkes,
a
website, which is sort of pretty much driven by what happens in Westminster at all times, but also does quite a bit of media-related stuff. Yeah. They wrote a piece about us yesterday in which it said that, as everybody knows, we are planning to do a show together, you and I, here on the Mike Graham Network, for better UK Live is what we're going to call it. And GB News, who you also do some work with.
I do, yeah. I like GB News.
Have suggested that that might be a difficult thing for us to do.
Yep.
So we await developments, I suppose, is what we can say.
Yes, that's it. Look, it's fair enough. I have been appearing on Jacob Rees-Mogg's show, by the way, great guy, and Michelle Dewberry, great woman. I've been appearing on their show for about the last 3 years.
Right.
And I then wanted to, A, work with you, B, I wanted to learn more about the online world. And you and I agreed that we should do a show every day, probably. Yes. And but GB News, I have a contract with them. I didn't realise it was a kind of a global non-compete. I must be honest with you. Anyway, I have a contract with them, and they have deployed the contract.
I see.
As we say in the business.
Have you checked the contract?
I have checked the contract. Yeah. And I didn't know I was that important to GB News, to be absolutely honest.
Yeah.
So that, as they say in the younger area, is my bad.
Okay.
Right? My bad.
Yeah.
Must be a terrible expression there. And I'm chatting with the people at GB News about whether we can resolve this.
Yes.
I hope we can.
Yes.
Amicably on both sides.
Yes.
And if we can't,
we don't have any issue with GB News.
No, we like GB News.
We like GB News. We want more people to be doing this
kind of
that
stuff.
We're in.
Yeah.
You know, the more the merrier, as far as we're concerned.
Yes, no, that's correct. The truth is that thanks to GB News, they have blown apart the idea that the only way to report news is from the kind of far left cave somewhere in the Bermondsey area.
Right.
And now people can have their views and their news. After all, people now, all the latest media research is that people get most of their news from social media.
Yeah, exactly right.
And that way you are receiving news. There is no possibility of receiving news in a balanced form because everybody has a view when they write something or report something or broadcast something. And
the sooner everybody realises that, the better.
Right. And so I think you're going to see, and this is one of the things I look forward to when Reform do well, is in the next election. And I think they're going to do better than people think they're going to do, because I think people will be alarmed at the state of the country, is that they're going to change the way that you receive your news. So they will say to any broadcaster, report the news any way you like, right? Any way you like, it's up to you. And the BBC may then to say, right, well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to report it, quotes, in the middle.
Well, you know what they're going to do, the BBC? They're going to start up 50 YouTube channels, because they know that's where it's all going.
Yeah, correct. Right? And I don't want to fund them being competitive to the Mike Grahams of this world.
Yeah.
The only point I would really make is that they're never really going to be competitive in that sense.
Well, do you know what? Because listening, as I said, to that BBC show this morning, the guy who was running the show said to the mechanic woman, you know, is it our fault, he said, because this is their default position, should we be paying more tax to fix the roads?
Who said that?
The BBC presenter, right? And she went, no, absolutely not. She said, we pay enough council tax already, we pay enough road tax, they should be doing the job that we pay them to do already. And he was shocked, because he said he thought that she was going to go, oh yeah, we need more public money.
Right.
Because that's the only language they understand.
Ask your viewers, have they looked at their new council tax demand? Have you seen the way it's split? And
I only just got mine, I haven't looked at it.
Right, so I got mine yesterday. I was looking at the thing. I don't mind paying the cops for more. I don't mind that.
Well, as long as they're not arresting you for your tweets.
Well, that moment has come and gone. At least that's fair. Right. Well, as far as I know, it's come and gone. But anyway, it's 4.7% or something for the cops. I didn't mind that. Surrey County Council, who aren't fixing the potholes, it's 5%. I basically object to that.
Yeah, that's all going to their pensions.
But the other one I object to is my local council, Elmbridge, who basically seemed to be quite pleased with the fact that they were spending more money on some kind of greens idea, or round my way, producing some library hub, which we 101% do not need. If you want a book, go along to one of the charity shops. You can buy 1,000 books for about £4.
Did you not say? In fact, I was in a Surrey Quay shopping centre the other day, and they had a load of books just on a shelf to take for free, right?
Yeah, good.
And people were taking them. Did you not once say you could fire a cannon through this place and not hit anyone?
Yeah, that is true. The only person you'd hear was the librarian. So it's a make work project for librarians whose basic job is to keep very quiet all day. Yeah. So they'd be no good here, would they?
Get your local Rwandan war criminal in, because we've got another library to open. That's what we're looking for. Now, there's something I want to tell you about. We're about to speak to who are we about to speak to? Emma Best, who we've kept waiting. Yeah. But I'm going to tease you with something, right? And we'll come back to it.
Here we go.
I want to have a look at this ladybird question, right?
Yeah, big question.
Can you play the lady? About this coming up after we talk to Emma Best. Emma Best, who works in the London Assembly, deputy leader of the Conservatives, and she's a woman who, thankfully,
shortly going to be out of work,
occasionally is able to have a go at the dreadful, ghastly Sadiq Khan. Have a look.
I'll get it in a second. Let's bring her on. I'll get it.
Oh, okay. Emma, hi. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you doing?
Sorry to mess you around early. We didn't realise you were on. I blame Charlotte for that, but don't worry.
Well, hopefully they disappoint now.
No, absolutely right.
Charlotte must go.
She can't go. We haven't got anybody else.
Oh, right, okay. Charlotte must be replaced.
It's not like the old days. Emma, we played earlier that Sadiq Khan video from last night in Trafalgar Square, where he's boasting about wanting to have the world's biggest iftar in the Western world. And an awful lot of people have said, not because they're anti-Muslim or anti-Islam, it shouldn't really be what he's concentrating on, should it?
I think this is the thing. Look, London, as we all know, has got a lot of people in it of diversity. We're going to celebrate things like Iftar, Hanukkah, obviously Christmas, and all the rest of the religious festivals, right? But at a time where Sadiq Khan is closing front counters and police stations across London, cutting the Met to the bones, we're losing officers across the board, we're losing the mounted guard. That's where people want him to be focusing on. There's no point celebrating anything if we're all scared to go out of our houses and get robbed. That's the situation we're living in London right now. And when it comes to Sadiq Khan, that's what people want him to be focusing on. That's job number one. Job number one is keep us safe. Job number two is keep the roads and trains moving. And on all accounts, he's failing. Yeah,
and it looks like there's some more London Underground strikes coming. I was reading a piece yesterday saying there's another kind of 4 or 5 disruptive days being planned in the next month and a half.
Yeah, and don't forget, this is from the mayor that promised no strikes across London. And what's happened is he's said bung after bung to the RMT. And guess what? When they get the bung of money, they say, oh, actually, we'd like some more of that. So they threaten another strike. And that's the kind of vicious circle we've got in London now with Sadiq Khan. And that's why he has the most strikes of any mayor that's ever been. Yeah. And it doesn't look like stopping anytime soon.
If they work any less, the tube drivers, they'll be back to sort of 1 day a week, won't they, on 85 grand a year?
Why don't we start driving out? Why don't we start volunteer tube drivers in the same way they have volunteer police officers and volunteer litter pickers, right? Yeah. Now why don't we become a nation of I'll drive you to work people who what about those people who currently retired on massive pensions and now entitled to go around London on no money at all, right? But that should definitely be related to how much money you earn. It's ridiculous. My mate Trevor Kavanagh, who by the way is probably living the life of Riley, travels around London for nothing, right? Former political editor of the Sun. Okay, it's an absolute disgrace. And if you're watching, Trevor, get off.
It's true. I think we've got a clip of you, Emma, to play. So we're going to play it. We've got it now, I think.
You can't move the goalpost now. Because last month I asked you about Rachel Reeves' leaked policy. It was in black and white what we meant. You said no to that policy. You said no to pay per mile.
and now you are backtracking, if that is what I hear correctly from you today.
I think it's a misunderstanding. The government is not introducing paper mile.
The government is introducing paper mile. It's literally when you drive a mile, you pay for the mile, hence the phrase would be pay per mile you drive.
Well, let's wait and see what the Chancellor's plans are. As I've said,
the Chancellor has literally said she is bringing in pay per mile. Unless you believe that London does not exist in England and Wales, then that scheme will affect us. That means there will be pay per mile in London, something you said would never happen under your mayoralty, and something that you said only last month when you knew what the plans looked like. You said, I will stand up to this government if it tries to introduce pay per mile. Stand by your word, stand by Londoners.
Okay, my understanding is that what the government's considering, introducing a vehicle excise duty for those electric cars that currently don't pay vehicle excise.
And how would it be deduced? How would they deduce what they pay?
The way it's produced is you charge vehicle excise duty for those electric cars.
No. How will they deduce how much the vehicles will pay? Can I help you? Would it by chance be by mile?
Yeah.
I mean,
that was good.
Played.
That was good.
Yeah. I mean, the trouble is, Sadiq Khan, it's a bit like Starmer, isn't he? He doesn't answer the question, doesn't like answering questions, refuses point blank to answer them.
No, and I know you've had Susan on here, so she might have explained this, but the way it works in the Assembly is we're on the clock. Every Assembly member's got about 5 minutes in those question times. So he knows that he can just try and wind the clock down until you're out of time by just waffling, filibustering. So that's why it's so hard to get an answer out of him. And the best thing to do sometimes is just to keep on asking him the same question when it's so obvious he's lying. And that one was ridiculous, right? Like a month ago, when we knew that Rachel Reeves was planning this, I asked him, are you going to stand up to paper mile? Because we've always said he is going to do it. We still believe he's going to do it. He wants to do it in London. He said, yes, I will stand up against paper mile. Then it comes out and he backtracks completely, as you sit there trying to deny that it's anything to do with driving per mile. And I want to be really clear with everyone as to why this matters. Because number one, a lot of people did go invest in electric or hybrid vehicles. This isn't just electric vehicles, this is hybrid vehicles, thinking that that would be the best choice for them. And they will now have to pay per mile when they drive. But also, where do you think this policy is going? If they were going to pay for electric vehicles by mile now, it will surely be, it will be all vehicles very shortly. We know how these things work. Taxes expand, it's the growth creep. We know that it will soon be all vehicles if we don't stand up to this now. Yeah. And the fact that Sadiq Khan tries to deny that we're having a pay per mile charge in London when vehicles will literally be paying per mile they drive is just beyond the realms of belief.
It is incredible. You get a lot of love on the show, Emma. So thank you very much. Thank you. We'll get you in the studio sometime soon. That would be good.
Absolutely, I'll come over.
Yeah, we might invite you over for Plonk of the Week actually, where we get to talk to you about politics and you get a glass of wine at the same time. What do you reckon?
A glass of wine at 8:30 in the morning sounds great.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent. This is a woman after my own heart. This is how it starts, right? Thank you very much indeed. Emma Best, well played. We've just had...
why didn't you make it 6:30 in the morning? Get completely smashed.
Yeah, actually just start the show like that. I didn't mark down the name, but we've just had somebody say, mark it down on the map, Tacoma, Washington. That's Washington State. Oh, right. One of the few states of America I've never been in.
I've never been there. Hold up. Oh, have you?
Yeah, it's very nice. It's very wet there. Yeah, nice part of the world.
Why are they listening? Well, they're listening live to you. Yeah. So what time would that be there?
When you say why, I mean, surely it's obvious why, because it's the best show on the planet. That's why they're listening.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know when I did the overnight show at Talk Sport, it was the second biggest breakfast show in New Zealand? I'm not joking. It was the second biggest breakfast show in New Zealand. Anyway, let's talk about ladybirds, right? Because we gave you a little tease just before. The reason being that a lot of people I'm speaking to at the moment are telling me that the house is being taken over by ladybirds. Yeah. Now, it's happened to me. It's happened this year. It's not as bad as it has been in the past. More in the country than it is here. But Pooch told me he woke up the other morning. Load of ladybirds. Yeah. Well, he wakes up actually middle of the night, 2:30. But he had a late night last night. Held up getting back from London. He got home, eventually lay down, and suddenly one of these ladybirds attacked him, flew at him.
But as long as it wasn't a ladyboy that attacked him.
Well, that's more in Soho kind of area. And then Charlotte yesterday said that her house has been invaded by ladybirds.
My bathroom has. I think they're fighting their way in to see a man in great shape.
Yeah, well, actually, they're already in there, you see, because I did a bit of research on this, as you might expect. Yeah. And apparently they come in October. And they kind of start a colony, unbeknownst to you, somewhere in the house,
right?
Because it's getting cold for winter time.
Yeah.
And then once you get to sort of March, April, and the sun comes out, they re-emerge as sort of having been hibernating for the winter.
I didn't know that.
And they tend to always, I don't know whether it's the same in your place, but they coagulate sort of around the windowsill.
Correct.
And there's thousands of them. You know, I think, Pooch, did you say you counted 17, which is not very many? I mean, I've seen it where they're completely around the whole frame of the window. It's unbelievable.
Okay.
And do you know what you do to get rid of them? According to people that
you open the window and throw them out.
No, it's more complicated than that.
Use a hammer.
Here's what you do: if you were somebody who didn't want to do any harm to them, right? You get a vacuum cleaner, right? And you cover the vacuum cleaner with some kind of a cloth, right? So what was that noise?
That's someone in the next studio.
Oh, sorry. And when you put the vacuum cleaner on, it sucks them into the cloth, but it doesn't suck them into the vacuum cleaner. And
is this a new Marvel film?
Yeah, Ant-Man. Ladybird Man.
Ladybird Man.
Yeah, Ladyboy Man.
And what happens then?
Well, then you take the thing outside and shake it.
And you let it...
And they all fly away. So, because I mean, the other way.
And then they tell their mates, don't go around the Graham household. You'll have a very slow death round there, mate.
Yeah, well, I mean, of course, you could make a mistake, just suck them all into the vacuum, but I don't know whether they'd be alive in there or not. I don't know.
Do you know what? Perhaps we should, having seen some of the status of some of your guests, perhaps we should invite a ladybird on to talk about the.
Well, we have thought about getting a ladybird expert on.
Yeah, good idea.
Which we will do.
Yeah, no, get one on.
An entomologist, possibly. Yeah. Be careful how you make that booking as well, because in case you get the ladyboy. I thought you said ladyboy expert.
Eventually, a bloke comes on. Yeah. Just explaining.
Have you ever sucked into a vacuum cleaner?
I think the vacuum
too
cleaner,
early.
The vacuum cleaner.
Anyway,
well, I wonder where it might go.
Can we do a couple of the pictures of the bumper stickers before we talk to Nigel? By the way, these are people who have got Micro Show bumper stickers and stick them on the back of the car. Isn't that nice? Do we know who that's from? No idea. Right.
That's from somebody that gets nicked regularly in London, I should think.
Well, somebody said to me when I suggested we'd have these, why would I put that on my car? Some mad lefty will bash the back window in.
Yeah, no.
Which is
well, when you see what's happening, have you been following The Guardian stuff involving Gales?
No. Oh, yes, Gales.
Okay,
yeah.
so
Matthew on Substack.
Matthew on Substack. Thank you, Matthew.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. So this is really.
Yeah, I saw what Giles Corrin had to say about it.
Yeah, well, so a columnist on The Guardian has written.
Yeah, he's like a restaurant reviewer or something, isn't he?
No, he's not. No, he's a sports columnist and opinion guy for The Guardian. Right, okay. Jonathan Liew, Liew, I think his name.
Right.
Anyway, he writes a piece basically attacking the fact that Gales have opened one of their ubiquitous kind of bakeries with the most expensive cakes in the world.
But people love it, don't they?
Yeah, they literally around my way in Weybridge, they queue out the door on Sunday mornings. It is an extraordinary commercial operation. And what's happened is that nearby is a Palestinian cafe.
Right.
And the lefties of London, and I'm not saying it necessarily includes Muslims, but certainly people who have a pro-Palestinian aspect to their lives, have been protesting that Gales is basically a Jewish bakery.
Right.
And this is based on the fact that when the business first started, it started as a bakery, and then what happened was that they had about half a dozen bakery shops in which they sold their stuff to them.
Right.
Along comes a mixture of Luke Johnson, who I know, and I in fact shared a bun with him the other day.
He's the Pizza Express guy, isn't he?
He is the
He started Pizza Express.
Yes, and by the way, a clever guy.
Very clever.
In fact, his father was Paul Johnson, the writer and big brain guy. And I remember going to lunch with Paul Johnson, because I was the editor of the Sun, and we used to employ him as a columnist.
Yeah.
The column was way beyond me, and possibly way beyond the readers, or not, I don't know. But anyway, I went to him and I said, "What are you doing these days?" So I hadn't seen him for a couple of years. And he said, "I'm writing a book, The History of the World." I said, "Oh, really? Another glass of wine?" When somebody says they're writing a book, A History of the World. Anyway, so the truth is that Bain and Company have become the big investors.
Yeah.
And because Bain have some financial interest in Israel, I urge you all to go to Israel and watch what commercial life looks like, and then look at what is happening over here. By the way, just think about it.
Right.
Anyway, these people
there's a boycott basically going on, isn't it?
And not only that, the Guardian piece was it's certainly to my untutored eye, anti-Semitic.
Yeah, very anti-Semitic.
Very dangerous,
possibly
by the way.
Racist.
Very dangerous. That Gales has had its window staved in a couple of times, plus being done. And actually, this guy, Lou, is just saying, well, look, compared to what's going on in the world, a broken window, what? We're in the UK, we believe in democracy, we're allowing everybody to have a word about almost everything. Honestly, I felt that it crossed the line.
Yeah.
So some of the Jewish journalists have complained. And
it's going on, and it's still going on, isn't it?
But imagine you're an employee. Do you remember those signs you see up at the a railway station saying, you know, if you bloody attack attack we'll report you and all the rest of it. Imagine all you're doing is serving up pan of raisins
it's shocking.
And stuff like that.
But there was a couple of Israeli commentators as well talking this weekend after the Al-Quds march on Sunday. Where you've got that guy Bob Villan chanting death to the IDF, where you've got people saying death to Israel, death to America. And so a couple of them were saying, is this really what you want in London? Is this really what Britain has become? That you have people who are so hate-filled about Israel and America that they're standing on the streets of London calling for people to be murdered. I mean, that's where we are, and that's disgusting, in my view. But let's talk now to our next guest, who is here, and it is Nigel from, we call him Nigel from North Eye because that's his kind of moniker on Twitter. Nigel, very good to see you. We haven't seen you for a while. Thanks for coming on the show. A couple of things to catch up on. North Eye was the camp down in Bexhill, which was a former military prison camp, which was supposedly going to be used by the Home Office to house asylum seekers.
Oh, right.
Problem was, it's at the end of a very nice little cul-de-sac, and I know it because I've been down there to look at it. A nice little cul-de-sac which has got lots of families living in it, and of course the local people, including Nigel, complained about it and managed to win a quite substantial victory over it. But we want to get from you, Nigel, what's the latest situation on it? Because we believe the Home Office are going to have to sell the site, right?
Yeah. We've finally kind of completed, as it were. The decision to not use it was taken by the Home Office back in December 2024, but they finally handed it over to Homes England about a month ago. So that was the point at which we could feel reassured that we really had won.
Right.
They can't go back on it.
And Homes England are going to do what with it?
Homes. So it was always...
But they might be ironic if they end up building homes for asylum seekers.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it might take them quite a while to build the homes. There's an awful lot of homes planned there so you'll know that there's a lot of green space, places to walk your dog and stuff.
Yeah.
And in the local plan, a lot of it is going to be housing if they get their way. And you're right. We don't know who the housing would be for, but it's better than a 1,200 men asylum seeker accommodation camp.
Yes, absolutely right. And is it right that they lost a bucket load of money on it as well, the Home Office?
We don't know. Well, they overpaid. So the sequence of events was that the Home Office brought in Clear Springs as advisors.
Right.
And then this mystery bunch of investors bought the site from the UAE We don't know how they found out about such an opportunity. So they bought it for 6 million.
Yeah.
We sent all of their names to the public inquiry about the acquisition. And then less than a year later, the Home Office bought it from the investors for 15 million quid. So they made potentially 150% profit.
Yeah, so the investors who got the info from somewhere in the UAE ended up making, what, 9 million on the deal over a year?
Well, I don't think they got it from the UAE. I think they probably got it. Well, we haven't found a connection between them and Clear Springs or the Home Office.
Right.
But as soon as Clear Springs were involved, the audit trail that we did, that we sent to the Public Accounts Committee, showed companies being set up pretty soon after. It then turns out Clear Springs were involved. The first company was called Watling Drive, and then the same people created other companies with similar names, which ended up buying the site. So that felt pretty unusual to us.
So I think, see, Carl, there's so much of this going on, right? But you know, the sort of the
I wish I'd
machinations.
been in on it.
Well, the machinations going on behind the scenes of all of these kind of deals. You know, like Crowborough will be the same. No doubt you'll have other parts of the country. Wethersfield is over in Essex. You know, there's all these kind of shadowy companies being formed, and people going, "Oh, thanks very much indeed. There's another couple of million in the back in the skyrocket." I think there's a lot of that going on.
I think you're going to have to explain that to the younger viewers.
Well, it's the you know.
I'll be leaving. I'll be leaving you now.
I mean, it's a bit like in Casablanca, which is also that one for the younger viewers, where the normal carrying charges will apply. You know, which could be anything from 50 grand to a free holiday in Dubai.
Yeah, but by the way, you can't get to Dubai anyway now. Do you see that BA
British Airways has stopped flying there?
But to Bahrain, everywhere.
Yeah. That's got to be a bad news story.
However, I've got some friends who are going to Oman, right? And now this is a mother, father, daughter and boyfriend. And they're going to Oman, I think literally this Saturday, and the issue for them is that they wanted to go to Oman. Yeah. Because it's a beautiful place, all the rest of it.
Got some great resorts, apparently.
However, they've now decided that they don't wish to be basically as tourists watching missiles going over.
Fair enough.
So they've now said to Oman Airways, who they're flying with, they're basically saying, well, we really don't want to go. They said, if you don't go, you sacrifice your money. Right?
Oh, what? There's no refund.
There's no refund. So they can either give up the money and then head in the other direction towards Barbados. Hopefully, hopefully there aren't any missiles flying over Antigua or the like, or they're gonna go out there and face various drones and the like.
And there's a slightly worrying aspect when you arrive at Oman Airport. They hand you a gas mask, right?
They hand you a submachine gun. You're like, come on.
I know. Anyway, sorry, Nigel, for that slight interruption.
But they should feel reassured because North Eye was used as a training site by the UAE military. So it might be rather good.
Good point there, man. Well said.
Now, the other story you were involved in, Nigel, was a rather kind of curious situation, was it not, with the Sussex Police and Rother District Council, which, if you can sum it up for us in a nutshell, that would be good. You were basically accused of antisocial behaviour, right?
So, yeah. The beach is just over there. It's about 50 metres away. Yeah. And we received what's called a community protection warning letter, preventing us from going to the beach in perpetuity.
Right.
So there was a red exclusion zone, and we were also prohibited from being perceived to be looking into any property in Norman's Bay. So basically, we've got two dogs. I would go to the beach. My wife would sit on a log. I would stand facing her while the dogs mulled around. And the weekenders who bought the workshop between our house and the sea and miraculously got it permission to convert it into a weekend home perceived that we were looking at them.
No. I mean, this is mad, right? It was a nightmare for you, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the turning point was actually when my wife was in the car park picking up litter, and this bloke threatened her. He was attacking a couple in a car, and then he came over to her. So she reported him, and he turned out to be a notorious metropolitan policeman who accused her of attacking him. So he does bodybuilding. Maybe he's 6 foot, 10 years younger than my wife, who's 5'2". So the idea was that she had threatened him. That the involvement of those two couples has meant we've been investigated 12 times by Sussex police. We've had a raid on the house. 2 van loads of cops came based on false allegations by the Metropolitan Police officer. So we're currently in the process of a legal thing to try and bring it to a close.
So at the moment, you've had an apology.
You had an apology from who? Who did you get the apology from?
So the last investigation happened in 2023. We went to the beach, and the neighbours came out, and I was down the beach, and so they surrounded my wife and started abusing her and filming her. So we reported that. And then in September, a friend of theirs started abusing my wife, and I came back and I said, "What did you say to her?" And she throttled me in front of the neighbour's CCTV. So we reported that. And miraculously, we were charged, and it went to court. And in deciding, so the original decision was no further action because a sensible cop had seen the evidence, and an inspector overturned it. In doing so, he cited the increased public interest as a result of me being a local councillor. Now, there is no such increased public interest. Actually, Kelvin, you used to work for the Sun, didn't you? So when we went to the plea hearing, the Sun were waiting and did a picture of us going to the plea hearing to say that we were not guilty. Good. So there is interest from the public, but that's different to the Crown Prosecution Service's definition of public interest, which is that if I'm going around throttling people, I represent a threat to the public, and so therefore there's a public interest. So we went to court. As with the previous occasion, my wife's now been charged with harassment by Hindu prayers twice. As with the previous occasion, the Crown Prosecution Service gave up, and so we were guilty and free to go. So we then did a complaint on 6 grounds. That got an apology. The first ground was that they had prioritised our neighbours' complaints over ours, and we got an apology on that, but the rest of it was rubbish. So we did what's called a review. So the Police and Crime Commissioner's Office looked at it. They decided that it hadn't been addressed properly, the process was wrong, and sent it back and said that the police did have to answer all of our questions. And we got the second apology about the public interest and councillor thing back in maybe October, November. But we're still trying to get redress for them to accept that when we go to the beach with our dogs, we're okay.
And what's Hindu prayers got to do with it? What's that? What is that?
So the neighbours made probably 100 different complaints, and the one that stuck was that when my wife does her prayers, her mudra, which she puts her arms in the air, that is the excuse me fuck off gesture. Now I don't know whether you ever use it, but it doesn't consist of putting 2 arms in the air to the side. It's a single finger to the front.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, Sussex police have twice chosen to charge my wife with that, despite the fact that she was interviewed about it before and they said it was okay.
Yeah.
So we've got a whole trail.
Story. Such a bizarre story. But listen, people are saying it's amazing how calm you are about it. But this is Nigel. It's good to see you again. Nigel Jacklin there talking to us about the various travails of living in Norman's Bay. I know Norman's Bay, actually. But you see, the thing is, there's stories like this, I reckon, are going on all over Britain.
I can remember
people being victimised by the police, victimised by neighbours, having neighbours' disputes. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, remember there was a editor of the Daily Express when it used to sell 5 million a day, who said you knock on any door in the back streets of Derby and there will be a tremendous tale to be told. And that is the reality.
Yeah.
The reality, and one of the other realities is because there are no local papers anymore, this chap here, when I say there aren't any with enough clever journos, because you can't make any money being a local paper journo. In fact, I tell you what, you can't make any money being a national paper.
The office of the Hastings Observer is now a storage unit.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay.
Because they don't have an office anymore. There's one guy that operates down there for what is an online, I think, news site, which is what the Hastings Observer is. They don't bother printing it anymore.
So you would get a lot of detail. So if you set up a local paper now, you'd have to rely on local neighbours almost writing the stuff themselves.
Yes.
When I say local paper, I mean local news site.
Yeah.
I mean, for instance, there's one for Surrey, and the idea that the whole of Surrey can be covered by one news site, which is telling you every so often that there's been a car crash on the A3 is not good enough, frankly. Look, I don't blame the journos on the Surrey Live, by the way. They probably don't get paid enough, and the demands on them are too high.
Well,
but that guy there, he seems a one-man news site, doesn't he? I mean, there's no area. He's got a bit of Hindu.
He's a local councillor, right, in Bexley and Rother. Yeah. Right. He was running the campaign against this North Eye site. Successful. And he's quite a remarkable guy. He came into the studios back in the old days.
Did he?
And he brought me some quince, because he also grows stuff in his back garden.
Does he?
And I'd never had any.
Yeah,
I mean,
quince,
I've had quince in a restaurant.
What was it, quince jam?
He brought the actual fruit.
Oh, you actually brought the fruit, yeah.
Which, you're supposed to then do something with to make it into the jam.
Yeah.
I can't remember I don't think I did that. But no, he's a really interesting guy. Interesting guy.
Okay, well, he seems to be winning.
Reminds me of what English kind of eccentric behaviour is. Do you know what I mean? Not in a bad way, but
Yeah, by the way, what I didn't understand was, were the people who were complaining against him, were they a minority, or were
I don't think so. I think they just were. He called them weekenders. I suspect they were coming out from London.
I see.
And by the sounds of it, maybe one of them was this police officer.
Oh, right.
And this is the other problem. If you go, if you're in the police and you can wield power and get the local police to come round and sort of intimidate people, it's not very nice. One story we haven't covered that I wanted to touch on the front of the Times today. Actually, no, it's not on the front of the Times. Sorry, I tell a lie. It's Mandelson. It's in the Telegraph, page 2. Peter Mandelson made £1.5 million from his lobbying firm before it shut down, insolvent. Now, you know a few people in business. This sounds to me, without wishing to in any way prejudice the case, it sounds like a bit of sharp practice that Mr. Mandelson may have been involved in.
Do you know what? I'd like to know who bought that. Who paid him that?
Yeah.
And the reason I'd like to know that, since it must have been quite clear when he sold. Does it say the date that he sold the business?
It was before.
Yes. How long before?
Yes. I don't think that he sold the business. I think
he sold his equity.
Yeah. The business went into sort of bankruptcy, right?
Yeah.
Let me find the piece here.
Yeah.
It says Lord Mandelson made more than £1.5 million selling his shares in his lobbying firm before it collapsed.
Yeah.
Right.
How much longer before?
It doesn't actually say. He'd been paid between 1.3 million and 1.4 million in 2024 in an earlier sale of shares. So he's done all right out of this.
Right. So all the time that he was flogging
it says just days before the company shut down.
Okay. Well, you have to have an issue there. Who on earth would have bought those shares when they knew that this scandal was lurking around? So was it a friend of Mandelson's being helpful to him?
Yes.
Because otherwise, in 2 days' time, the whole business would have gone pop.
Right.
But you wouldn't have to be a genius, right? You must have more money than sense to know that the man who founded the company is in the most tremendous trouble now, right? Connected with a paedophile, and yet he's now selling his equity. That equity isn't worth anything. So why do you pay them $1.5 million?
Yeah.
So my issue is who bought it?
Yeah.
Was it a friend of Mandelson's? Was he doing him a favour, right? And was this a way of just giving money to Mandelson in return for something? I don't know what that would be. I'm very puzzled that any of this it happened without there being a huge question mark over why.
Now, because if you were, say, for example, just an honest-to-goodness business person and you thought, this is a good company to invest in, I'll buy your shares, and then it all goes belly up, surely you would have some kind of case against the person who sold you the shares, wouldn't you?
You would do, except in this case, it must be buyer beware, because Mandelson pointed out and said, well, you know, look, I'm all over the papers here.
I'm under investigation, wasn't he?
I've lost my, I've lost my job. I'm no longer the ambassador.
Yeah.
There is phenomenal stuff. I mean, I am astonished the amount of stuff that is now coming out.
I know.
That, for instance, Mandelson was
What about
receiving
the
drugs.
Yeah.
And that
illegal drugs, by the way.
Xanax is the most dangerous of.
It is.
So it is an anti-anxiety pill as well as everything else.
It's a massive sedative.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm beyond puzzled that he was managing to conduct. And the other thing was, he was taking Botox, wasn't he?
But was he getting this stuff? And I don't know the answer to this. Was Epstein arranging for somebody in London to bring it to him, or was he getting it sent to him from America? I don't know. But either way, it's an illegal act.
I think if he was having it sent to him, now that
in Downing Street,
that really would be, and it just goes to show what kind of double, treble, quadruple life he was leading all the time. So he was perfect for politics, by the way. Deceitful, liar, lining his own pocket. There is nothing that didn't say to him, you should be helping Tony Blair run our country into the ground.
Yeah, and Gordon Brown rehired him as a result of his brilliance, right?
So but remember, he's one of their own.
Yeah.
He is carrying deceit to a new level.
Well, did you see Sherry Blair's interview with Times Radio, where she said, you know, sometimes people forget, it's very sad what's happened. She was asked, you know, how do you feel about it all? Do you feel let down, betrayed, blah, whatever? Oh, it's very sad because, you know, sometimes in all of this, people forget that people are human.
Okay, well, she says that exactly right, which is fair enough. Okay, you can have that view. Actually, the stuff that comes out makes it almost impossible to argue that. I have no idea why she said that. Explain to me why she feels that she's able to say about her husband that he's a good politician and a poor husband.
And a lousy husband.
And a lousy husband. So she obviously extends more good wishes towards Mandelson, who's currently under arrest, right, than she does towards her own husband, who seems to spend a lot of his time, for reasons not entirely clear to me, either in the Middle East or in America, i.e. not at home, as they say.
Indeed. Now, there was a thing I was going to read out there about UK Live. But in the meantime, Nigel has sent another message in, Nigel Jacklin. He said, thanks very much for that. He said, I met Kelvin a long time ago. He says, we presented at a media research conference together when he was fighting Rayjar. And he'll know Clive Milner, who I worked with.
Oh, right.
So
he works with Clive, does he?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, right, I like Clive. Nice guy. And the brighter half is Clive's wife, by the way.
Very kind.
She's got loads of the brains which Clive seems to have lost somewhere on the way.
Here we go. This is our message. Go to the YouTube channel after this show and subscribe to youtube.com/@UK Live Online. And there's more news coming soon on that. That is the new TV channel that we're launching. So it's at UK Live Online. There's a YouTube channel set up. We'll be hoping to broadcast on it sooner rather than later. Obviously, you know, weather permitting. Various things in the pipeline on that front. Now, coming up, we've got so much to do today. We're going to be speaking to a young man who started up a new business, which is going rather well. Charlie Jobson.
Oh, right, good.
He started something up called House of the People, which is an AI inspired sort of, you know, website and information source in which he's basically collecting all of the, and Charlie, correct me if I'm wrong when he comes on, collecting all of the sort of information on public opinion on all matter of particular issues, right? So if you're an MP, you can go to this website
Oh,
and find out what people
and
think.
thanks to AI, it's collated everything.
Yeah.
You put a search into it, and then it dumps it all onto
exactly.
it. Oh, right. Well, that's a clever
so it's a
idea.
very
Well, I hope
clever
he does
idea.
well.
So when you're talking, well, he's already done well, not least because his father happens to be known to us both. Is Robert Jobson.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so it's Robert's son.
Well, he's hoping to make the money that Robert failed to make.
I think Robert did all right, to be honest.
Did he?
Yeah, I think so. And the
well,
thing
in fact, if his father did a scrape together, it's called House of the Pies.
Very harsh. But anyway, Charlie's going to be here. We'll talk through what he's done. And because what happened was Robert messaged me and said, look, you should have a look at this. And I retweeted it. And it kind of went rather well.
Oh,
after
did
that.
it?
Yeah, and then a bunch of other journalists got involved, and so it's gone viral.
Oh, right, okay.
So lots of people are into it. And so it's a success story already, actually. And the Sun actually ran a piece on it, but neglected to put my name in it because obviously I'm persona non grata there.
So
they took my name out of the story.
They took your...
Yeah.
Do you know what? They are vexatious, aren't they? They would carry a dislike of people to the end of the grave.
They will.
Actually, what I tend to do with the Sun is I tend to put their name into it, right, which has the reverse effect.
Yes, there we are. Anyway, listen, we've got also some news to do with Edward Hughes. Should we do that? Yeah. Let's do that.
Good morning, I'm Edward Hughes with your news. Tensions remain high over the Iran conflict as President Trump criticises Prime Minister Keir Starmer, saying he's not happy with the UK's response and urging more support to secure the Strait of Hormuz. The UK has firmly stated it will not join any offensive war against Iran, focusing instead on defensive allied efforts and protecting shipping lanes amid rising energy prices. Chancellor Rachel Reeves pledges £1 billion for quantum technology procurement to boost future industry. A major meningitis outbreak in Kent has claimed 2 lives, a 6th form pupil and a university student, with 11 others seriously ill and hundreds are receiving antibiotics. Elsewhere, the pothole repair backlog in England and Wales hits a record £18.6 billion, labelled a national disgrace, while Reform UK pledges to scrap VAT and green levies on energy bills to ease household costs. More details throughout the day. Please remember to like and subscribe. Latest Tigers.
You've got mail. So here we are. I've got something to open here, but I didn't open it previously, so I'm going to open it in front of you, which is what a lot of people don't like. Crowbar. Yeah, we've got a lighter. We're going to set fire to it. People do wrap these things up very well. Here we go. Oh, what's that? Oh, it's a couple of pins by the looks of it. That's nice. This is from Ren and Andy, A&R Jewellery. We are huge fans of the show and tune in every single day as a token of our appreciation for the work you do. We wanted to send over a few gifts from A&R Jewellery, included as a bracelet crafted from hematite blue lapis, white howlite and red agate. These specific stones are chosen for their associated benefits regarding heart health and circulation. We have also included a pin badge and a custom plaque that we hope you enjoy. That's brilliant, isn't it? The plaque is in here, so I need to pull that out. There's the plaque.
Very nice.
Isn't that lovely? That's nice. And then there's these are the little pins. See that?
Yeah, very nice.
Very nice. Those are lovely. Superb. And a bracelet. Shall I put that on?
Yeah, go on.
How about that?
Yeah,
It's a bit Dale Vince, isn't it?
no, it's good.
That's all right. Bring me some luck.
You did get gifted it by a lovely viewer.
And also, that's right. Now, I'm delighted to say we're now joined by Charlie Jobson. Charlie, good to see you, man.
Great to be here.
Thank you for coming in. Now, I've described your business that you've just started, and it may not have been entirely correct how I did it. So you tell us.
I think it was a good summary.
The People's House, right?
Essentially, a third chamber for the people.
Yeah.
It's a live website right now where you can go online, vote on every bill and law that's ever gone through Parliament.
Yeah.
And then what we do is we compare the people's vote to the Parliament's vote, and it's essentially a comparison of public will against parliamentary action.
Okay. And so that way you can basically present the public's view pretty much on everything.
That's what we want, yeah.
Okay. And how did you decide to come up with this idea? What's your background?
I mean, I've had the idea for a while,
right.
I would say a couple of years, to be honest. I didn't understand why something like this didn't exist,
right.
because it's technologically possible.
Yes.
I guess all things sort of coalesced, be it the technological landscape that allowed me to make it on my own, and also the public will at the moment for crying out for something like this that have resulted in me making houseofthepeople.com at this moment in time.
Yeah, and so basically, I mean, without giving too much away, your dad got in touch with me. I think it was last week.
I think so, yeah.
And he sort of pointed me to your website or your Twitter page, which has now got 25.9 thousand followers. At the time, I think you had about 1,000, right?
I think less than that, mate. I think we started off with 22 followers on Sunday morning. Got your repost. I was on the phone to my mum. Went shot up to 100 followers, which for the time, you know, obviously we almost quintupled in the space of half an hour.
Right.
And it all just went mad. I mean, kept getting more reposts.
But it was, by the end of the day, I think it was at 10,000 or 15,000.
I think by the end of my day, it was about 20K. I think I went to sleep about 10 a.m.
It's at HOTP official, House of the People. But if you put House of the People into Twitter, you can find it. And it says this: House of the People is a democracy-first social platform where every UK citizen can vote, support or oppose every bill and law since 2006. So it must take quite a bit of research and work. I mean, I
mean, that's the beauty of large language models now with AI, is that is what they're good at, is processing large amounts of data.
Tell me what a large language, you've already lost me.
It's essentially just ChatGPT.
Okay.
Just ChatGPT. Data processing. But the main thing, there's not that much AI in this. I mean, all I had to set up for the infrastructure-wise was allowing people to vote on the legislation. The most time-consuming is getting the summaries out, which are AI-assisted. Because, I mean, Parliament doesn't provide summaries for half these bills. That's been one of the difficulties.
Well, this is one of the difficulties of the way that the government and Parliament works in this country, that, you know, it's also kind of impenetrable, isn't it?
I think purposefully so.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I always said this, when Tony Blair brought in the Freedom of Information Act, right, everyone went, oh, this is great, because now we can ask questions and get information. Actually, it was the complete opposite, because it was so that people could give excuses as to why. Like when I was up in Scotland at the time, we'd ask the Scottish Parliament, you know, we want some information on this, and oh, that's too expensive. We can't do research on that, too expensive. Or we can give you this bit, but it's going to be redacted for that reason.
I know, to me,
all of that.
That's undemocratic. I mean, the whole point, or one of the main tenets of House of the People, is advocating for transparency on Parliament's behalf. It makes our job easier as well. So when we're calculating what we call the democratic gap, comparing Parliament's vote to the people's vote, one of the difficulties in that is that a lot of these votes pass on voice vote, which essentially means the Speaker listens to the House and listens to who shouts aye or no the loudest, and then that's how the vote, and it's only when someone contests that a vote or a division takes place. To me, I mean, it is an archaic model, and it's so easily rectifiable with something like House of the People. All you've got to do, log a vote, it takes 10 seconds, people are already doing it now.
And so how physically does that work? Do they go on a website?
Houseofthepeople.com. It's going to be an app within about a month, I would say. Which will make it a lot easier to access and more efficient. I mean, I want the UK public to have a much greater involvement in the democratic process and parliamentary process of this country.
And as a business, is it a business that is a viable business already? Will it become one, or what's your hope for that?
That's the thing. So revenue, to be honest, wasn't on the front of my mind when first building this. I was building it I just truly was passionate about fixing a problem that I saw within the system. Currently with revenue model, we're working off donations, which I'm extremely grateful to everyone who's donated so far. We're nearing £1,000 now. Beyond that, I think we're probably going to do advertising, non-data tracked advertising.
On the website, because if you've got that much traffic going through it, you'll make money that way.
Then that's a viable means.
So your background to get to this point is what? Did you go to uni?
It's not that long, to be honest, but yes.
Did you go to uni?
I did. I went to Durham Uni from 2020 to 2024. Graduated that, had a job at a political forum of sorts as an assistant for about a year. Quit that to do this full time because I can't explain it other than I knew people needed this. Although the 25,000 followers in the day was absolutely astounding, it was something that I've been working towards for about 8 months now.
And people say that an awful lot of young people are kind of switched off from politics. They're not interested in it. They don't really care. Is that true, or would you say that's changing?
I don't think that's true. I think, for example, when we're seeing a lower, 59.7% turnout last time in voting elections, which is not very high, and that's not even including the people who aren't registered. when you go and take a look at Twitter or other social medias, what you're seeing every day is people that are not apathetic about politics. What they're apathetic about or disengaged with is the system.
Yeah.
Because they don't see how their vote actually makes an impact on the system itself, which I can understand, because when you look at House of the People, what you're going to see is that essentially every MP votes along party lines the vast, vast majority of time. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the lowest party alignment rating, so party loyalty rating, average, is 97%.
Yeah.
Which is astounding.
Yeah.
So,
and they have the whipping system and all of that.
I
right?
mean, that's an insane system in the first instance, I think, when you're trying to actually represent the people.
Yeah.
And this is, I see House of the People as an update that politics needs and deserves.
Yeah. And politicians, have any politicians kind of followed it?
We've had a few following the Twitter or the X, which is great to see. And I'd urge them to, this is a force. This is not an antagonistic revolutionary force. This is an update for politics. I want MPs to get on board, as a few already have been, because we've got specific MP profiles, so they can see what their constituents are saying and get a direct line of communication from constituent to representative, which makes their jobs a hell of a lot easier if they want it to.
Sure. So as far as the way that it will work in the future, will you sort of look to preempt bills, for example? Say, for example, there's a bill coming up on the right to life or abortion, or something comes up on the right to die and all of that. Would you be getting ahead of that and saying...
You're saying prior
to any law being made, would you go, this is what people think?
That's an idea. I mean, one thing we're working towards at the moment is user-submitted bills as well.
Yeah.
I think getting in there preemptively, it'll be great. So for a brief rundown of the parliamentary system for anyone who's unaware, the bill gets read out at first reading, and then the in-principle vote is the second reading. That's the one we really care about. That's asking the MPs, do you support this in principle?
Yeah.
We want to get people voting prior to that second reading vote, so the MPs have an actual, they have data to go off.
Good idea. Okay. Yeah, Kelvin approves. So
Thank you.
That's
Cheers,
good.
Kelvin.
Yeah, he's got a load of money to put into it as well.
Good. We need that.
But also the other thing is interesting is the number of amendments as well that I think people will be very confused about.
Yeah.
Where you suddenly go, I think it's happened with the right to die, but they've got so many amendments, they'll never get through them.
Yeah.
And that's, again, it's a sort of filibustering manoeuvre, isn't
Again, that's something, so we currently display all divisions, which again are just votes when the House divides. All amendments are also available on the website, houseofthepeople.com. I think that it would be useful to maybe get a way of structuring those a little bit better so they can be easily digestible, because, some bills have over 600 amendments, so it would take a hell of a long time to go through those all.
And in terms of the acquiring of all the data and just the presentation of it, does that all get done automatically? I'm starting to sound like a really old person now asking this question.
It's fine.
But it's extraordinary what you can do, isn't it?
It is. I mean,
is it like a one-man band? Is it just you?
Well, I've got a lot of people around me that I look on for advice, etc. And I'm very much so looking forward to when House of the People isn't my thing anymore.
Yeah, right.
Where it's, I want my name to be detached from this, to be honest, and just have it become an integral part of the political system, because I think that's what it should be.
Yeah. And I'm surprised in a way that there isn't somebody who's had that name nicked and put on a
I know. We have
somewhere.
got the intellectual property.
So that's great that you managed to get that. Super chats for Charlie.
Thanks,
okay,
guys.
let's have a look. This from Barker. House of the People. How do you limit voting to UK residents?
So,
is that what on your? He means on the website? I guess.
On the website, yeah.
I mean, do you have to register?
You do.
To vote?
So to vote, you have to register. So we currently use the same verification system as UK.petitions, which is government associated.
Right.
That's a postcode and an email. I understand the limitations of that system in itself. I'm sure the government do as well, but they haven't, sought to update it either. What we could do is we could get more stringent verification measures. If we do, say, for example, bank grade biometric verification that you use every day to log into your phone, but rather than using it you use it for good.
Yeah.
And that means this becomes the most accurate voting platform ever. I hope I'm not overstepping there, but it genuinely would.
Yeah. Because a lot of the polling companies have been in trouble. I mean, there was a story this week, wasn't there, that YouGov had to admit they actually were underplaying Reform's representation because they were not doing something in particular that they should have been doing, and they've now admitted that they were actually, underplaying Reform's percentage.
That's the difficulty of what they. I can't remember the exact system they use, but when you're taking a small database and then extrapolating that data and with your own algorithms, so say you have 1,000 people voting. I mean, how is that representative of a country? It's not.
It isn't.
So you can manipulate that data in so many ways. what we want to do with House of the People is I want this in everyone's pocket. I mean, we have instant communication devices we use every day to voice our opinion. It takes genuinely a click of a button. You can get this done in 10 seconds. Voice your opinion on a bill. Let your MP know what you think.
Yeah, okay. And
Comments?
and more comments?
Yeah.
Okay, let's have a look. Just had a quick peek at the House of the People website. Looks really interesting, so I will register.
Thank you very much.
As OC2. I think this is the great idea. I thought we should and could have a direct democratic process. I'm so pleased that this young man has started moving the mountain. It's a hell of a lot of work. We should support House of the People. He's talking about him, not me, I think. A very modest chap. I give you permission to marry my daughter.
Thank you.
Blimey. It's a bit early for that sort of caper. But no, it's brilliant. It's a great idea. Also, Kelvin was talking earlier about the whole idea of kids coming out of university. I'm sorry to say the word kids.
That's all right.
And you find that actually you'd be better off trying to start a business, trying to do something on your own. I mean, have you got an experience you could tell us about of trying to get a job, right? So tell us about that.
I've got a hell of experience applying for, I'd say all me and my friends probably at uni, out of uni, applied for over 100 grad jobs, all looking about a 35 grand salary at the most, which is livable. But compare it, I mean, this is why the country, there is such a feeling of a need for change or a need for something like House of the People.
Yeah.
You're looking at GDP per capita. If you look at it 20 years ago when my dad came out of uni, he was on 30 grand, could buy a house for 100 grand. That house price to salary ratio was accessible. Now, if I'm looking to buy even a pretty bad place in London, it's going to cost me at least 300 grand.
Yeah, lucky if you can get that.
You'd be very lucky. And it's, I mean, that's something that we need to highlight. But if you look at the political discourse over the last 10 years, all we hear is, and I don't want to say lies, but definitely obfuscation at the very minimum of saying GDP is rising.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
That means nothing.
Right, it does.
Your dad didn't come out of university 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah, he's a bit older than that. About what is he? 62 or I think that is.
Yeah, he's a bit younger than me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we had the pleasure of winning a football tournament together at Wembley. I think you might have been there, actually.
No,
it was when we played for the joint Daily Express Daily Star team, and we won the tournament. It was sponsored by Littlewoods. Played at Wembley, the old Wembley Stadium.
He's told me a few times.
Brilliant. But so, did you find that nobody was offering you a job?
Well, I got one in the end. So it takes a hell of a lot of work, and I know friends that extremely qualified friends. I've got one. Give him a shout out now, D. He had a degree in law, undergrad, a master's in finance, both from good unis, and he was stuck working as a postman for a year because he couldn't get anything else. And it's like, it's a perfectly respectable job, but it does beg the question of why go to uni in the first instance if graduate jobs are so oversubscribed.
Because if you'd started this in 2020, right, 2021, who knows where you would be now? 5 years ago.
Who knows? I don't think I would have been able to at 18, to be honest.
Right.
I think didn't know, I wouldn't have thought of it. So I think uni was great for that, and I had a great time at university, and great time with my lecturers, really appreciative of them. But when it comes to the financial ROI, I mean, I have a hell of a lot of student debt now that I've got to work out how to pay off.
Yeah, that's not helpful, is it? And what about in terms of the subject matter that you cover? Have you noticed a trend of something that people are particularly more interested than anything else, or what particular areas are people kind of piling in on, if you like?
What, you mean on House of the People?
On House of the People, yeah.
So the most voted on bill currently is the removal of the 2-child limit for the benefits cap.
Right.
So that one is also, I think, largest Democratic gap at the moment. I think 75% Democratic gap, which essentially means the public have 7% support for it, 93% opposition.
What, removing the cap?
No. The public oppose removing the cap, sorry.
Right.
Yeah, the public oppose removing the cap, 93% opposition, whereas Parliament had an 81% support of it, which is a stark contrast.
That's a little bit like Brexit. I remember Brexit, we were sitting down in College Green on sort of 2018, 2019, and all these MPs would come out, and you could see that they just kind of were distastefully having to talk about, leaving the European Union because they were all Remainers, pretty much. I mean, almost to a man and woman, apart from a very small number, which is why it took so long to get it over the line. So it sounds, from what you're saying, that people don't wish to be paying more benefits to families who have got more kids.
That's the data we've got so far. But as I said, our user base is still growing. This is just the beginning. I don't want to step out of line and say that this is conclusive data because it's not yet. We've got our voter base. it's a great inkling.
But it's as good an indicator as many.
It's a great start. Yeah, it's a good as I mean, we've got about 1,500 votes on there, which is probably the same as they poll half the time.
Sure.
But definitely, I mean, just share it. If you like the idea, just share it with everyone you can, please, because the more votes we get on there, the more conclusive the data is, the harder it is to ignore.
All right. And so it's houseofthepeople.com.
HOTP official for the Twitter.
Yeah.
Anywhere else? You'll find us on Instagram as well, House of the People official.
Yeah.
But we need to start populating that a bit more.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, but we'll try and get everywhere.
Well, listen, let us know whenever you've got anything good going on, and we can just keep pumping stuff towards you.
I will.
Which would be great. Charlie Jobson, great to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Just before you go, and before we go, should we do? What do you want to do? If you want a bumper sticker, a couple of people are asking, how do you get a car sticker? Here's what you do: send a size C5 stamped address envelope to fit an A5 bumper sticker to the Mike Graham Show, PO Box 257, Battle, East Sussex, TN33 3FS. You can see it there. We should be able to get them out to you in a couple of days, which is all good. And if you do actually get one, do take a picture of where you've stuck it, which I think we've got one. Is it Sheila? Is it Sheila?
Yeah.
I can't work out what is that. What is that? It looks like a little.
Looks like a toboggan.
It's a little it looks like a toboggan or a little racing car or something, a one-person racing car. Sheila McCarthy on Substack. Anyway, great. So Heron of the Day, perhaps. Our kind of theme. Now, this is our herons of the world, and the black-capped night heron, which is on the right from Darren, that was sent in, and that's the exact same one that I saw on the Thames, because Donald McLeod, who sent us a crane, our partner, he said that's not a crane, and he said that's not a heron, but it is. And then Herne Bay, to the left there, Shepherd Neame, one of the great breweries in down there in Kent. The Heron is the name of the pub, and apparently Herne Bay is actually named after a heron as well. So there we are.
Interesting.
Yeah, because somebody told us that before, and we think that might be a grey heron in the actual sign. And finally, before we go at 9:29, a bit of Pooch's Pooch.
Yeah,
we play a dog video at the end of every show just to cheer people up for all the gloom and doom they've put through.
You've seen that we played, but.
Food. I just couldn't stop thinking about it.
Have you not played this one?
So, yeah. So, I went to the fridge and I opened up the meat drawer. You know what the meat drawer is, right?
Yeah. What was in there?
Well, I'll tell you what was in there. You know that bacon that's like maple? It's got maple flavor.
The maple kind, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I took that out and I thought,
Yeah.
I know who would like that. Me. So I ate it.
Oh, no. You're kidding me.
Nope. Not kidding. I also noticed there was some beef in there. Yeah, steak, juicy. Well, I ate that too. But I went back to the fridge just a few minutes ago.
Amazing.
And I put something together really special. You're going to love this one. I took some chicken.
Yeah.
I put some cheese on it. Then I covered it with
what?
I covered it with cat treats.
Yeah.
Then guess what?
What?
I gave it to the cat.
That's great, isn't it? I got one here from Chris. I'm an avid fan from Carcassonne in the south of France. I'll see if I've got a couple more pins to stick in the map behind me. But listen, another great show. It's 9:30, believe it or not. Incredibly. I'm joining House of the People as we speak, says WP. So hopefully you'll get another little boost.
That's fantastic.
Every time you do something, yeah. Great. But great to see you, and good luck with it all. Thanks to Kelvin McKenzie for coming in today. Thank you to all the other guests we had. Thanks to Pooch. Thanks to Charlotte. Emma Best, actually, she was good. We'll get her back on as well. And Nigel Jacqueline, of course, too. And Russell Quirk. I'm going to have to go through all of them now. But we'll be back tomorrow, Wednesday. It will be at 7 a.m. Don't miss it. Meanwhile, don't be a plank.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.